Howdy, yokes! Before we get started with today's special episode, we just wanted to let you know this episode is brought to you by you. We want to build this podcast as big as it can be. We want more episodes, more merchandise, more events, giveaways, you name it. But we can't do it alone. If you enjoyed this episode or any of our episodes, head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/baconandeggs. And consider making a donation and checking out some of the great rewards we've got set up over there, or really just any donation of any kind. We want to keep this podcast free and available for everyone, so if you have a couple bucks to spare, anything goes a long way. We could really use your help to make this podcast the best it can possibly be. So thank you for donating, and thank you even more for listening.
Hi, and welcome back to Bacon and Eggs. I'm Tyler Carlin.
And I'm Ethan Edgehill.
And we're back with another great movie from our friends over at Marvel.
The last movie before we get to
The Black Panther.
The Black Panther comes out next week.
Comes out next week in your time, not our time. We've already reviewed the first 16. Is that right?
I'm pretty sure that's right.
I don't know. We've reviewed a bunch of movies in this series. That's how it is.
And you can go back to listen to those episodes on those movies and help you get caught up on what's happened.
As well as all the other great movies we've done. Or you can just dive in with us right now, because this week is a special week. We've got a guest on the show. Guest, who are you? How do people know you?
I'm Jon Negroni. They know me because they love me. And
yeah, they do.
I don't know how else.
Wow. John,
yeah.
It was an article you wrote that catapulted the Super Carlin brothers to fame that I found.
I try to bring it up a lot.
Yeah, I found that. I just want you to know that. That, I was watching Ratatouille with Jonathan because I said I hadn't seen all of them. I just read this amazing article.
He was so young back then.
Yeah, I need to watch this. And he was like, oh, this is a good movie. Whatever, let's watch it. And then he was like, wait, what kind of amazing article? And then I showed him. And then, boom, here we are.
Here we are, so many
gathered
years later.
around.
Riding on their coattails. Isn't that a life?
Yeah, it's a good time. And a lot of people don't realize that you guys lived, I don't know if you still live in Roanoke, just 45 minutes away from where I grew up in Lynchburg.
How'd you end up all the way out in California?
Oh, that's a tale for a different time.
I was gonna say, I feel like people don't really leave Lynchburg all that much.
Yeah, I came out here for, why does anybody else come to California? Money.
Gold.
Be a movie star? Yeah, the gold rush.
Well, now it's just I don't think the gold thing is still going on.
I mean, who knows? Who knows at this point?
But anyway, John's here to talk about, what are we talking about, Ethan?
We're talking about Thor Ragnarok this week.
Thor Ragnarok.
It is 16. It is 16 movies, by the way. This is the 17th.
Yeah, this is okay.
Okay.
Cool. I got it right.
You got it right, yeah.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, real quick, just a couple knockdown stats on this movie. Tyler, how much does this movie cost?
$180 million. Man, I could use that kind of money right now.
Yeah,
my power bill was over $500 this month.
Good Lord.
Is insane. So I could use $180 million. But this movie, smartly invested it. It was well invested money. Cost $100 million, made $852.4 million in just 201 days, which is a lot of money.
Oh, wait, it's less than 201 days. I did not update that part correctly.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah, way less than 201 days.
Yeah.
But even though it came out in November, it's the 8th highest grossing film of 2017.
Yeah,
that's crazy pants.
Mm-hmm. It is also, at this point, still in theaters where I live.
That's also crazy pants.
Yeah, there's still one theater where you can go see Thor Ragnarok up to this moment.
Did it get nominated for anything?
Don't think so. Maybe
no.
Set design, costumes.
Guardians of the Galaxy did.
Best Chris Hemsworth hair.
I don't even know that this is the movie with the best Chris Hemsworth hair.
Of 2017?
Yeah.
It's entirely possible, isn't it? What else did he do this year?
He was in that 12 Strong movie.
That's 2018.
That hasn't come out yet.
Wait, it
What?
just
Really?
came out.
It just came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law has seen it. I know that much.
I saw it.
That does not count for the 2017 Oscar season, I do not believe.
Anyway, I don't think it got nominated, but it did get really good reviews. It got a 92% critic on Rotten Tomatoes and an 88% audience, which is exactly the same as Spider-Man, which is not really surprising to me. And I got a 74 on Metacritic. John, that's a C.
Yeah.
You guys do like classroom grades on your show, so that's a C.
Well, hold on. If you're going to say that it's not... It's a Thor movie. A Thor movie did about as well as a Spider-Man movie in 2017. That blows my mind.
Right.
That does blow my mind.
Spider-Man, you remember the first Spider-Man? That movie made so much money. The second one, too. The third one, even.
The third one was a cinematic travesty that I believe made money on name alone, if one was to ask me.
Goodwill.
Yeah. No. This movie is incredible, the fact that it was as good as it was. In fact, but it did kind of beat you over the head with the fact that it's they're going a new direction. If I look through my notes here, I think I have the words... That's really the nail in the coffin, that they're going back from the old Thor to a new Thor, 7 times. I'm sure I could find it.
It is definitely a different kind of Thor than we usually get.
Yeah.
That was by design.
Totally different. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
You know what?
Chris Hemsworth legitimately was the one who went to, I think he went to Waititi, or he went to the screenwriter. I think, was it Earl Thompson? Or Eric Pearson. I always get his name wrong. But he actually went to them and was like, my character's boring. Let's switch it up. And they let him do it.
Well, I love that they did that because it's almost like a nod to the fact that the like comic books are what they are, because there's so many different stories, but also continuities and everything in comics that you're able to really mix somebody up from writer to writer and director to director. And I don't know, I think that's a really cool thing that they did. I'm happy that they did it also because now I feel like we can get 2 more Thor movies and just forget the first 2 and call it a trilogy.
It's a retcon. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
Wait, what does that
Yeah,
mean?
I don't know.
Forgive me.
It's a comics thing. So in comics, retcons happen all the time. It's basically what you just described. Retcons happen when they, like, a new writer, or like they want to like just refresh everything. It's like the New 52 at DC, right?
Right.
And they use like a plot device to retcon, just change everything up. So everything, we're spoiling Thor, right?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Let
By
me
the
go
way,
ahead.
spoilers
They're a
galore
full
in
spoiler
Baconandeggs.
episode. Full
Okay,
spoiler
so the fact that he loses his hammer, his eye, his hair, they strip his character down, Asgard is gone. All of that is like just a big retcon of the Thor character. And I think in a good way.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
The old Thor character was boring.
100%.
I don't care about Norse drama.
I mean, the mythology part was cool for sure, and he was well portrayed in the Avengers movies that he was in. But to me, the actual Thor movies never held up, especially the second one.
I was just watching the second one in anticipation of this. Didn't finish it, obviously. And you know what? I think I kind of get what Alan Taylor, the director, was going for. I think he really wanted to make like a Game of Thrones fantasy superhero movie, and that's kind of why it's kind of boring.
Right? Is it because the whole mythology, high fantasy thing has been done so well so many times, especially as you mentioned in Game of Thrones, that it's, and maybe it wasn't at the point when it came out because it's been a while, but at this point it doesn't do as well as the other things in its category.
We're over Lord of the Rings. We want the bloody, we want all the gross stuff that Game of Thrones gives us. And it's funny because Alan Taylor directed a few episodes of Game of Thrones, some of the best episodes, so you can see clearly why he was brought on to do Thor. And I think he did both Thor films, actually, yeah.
Kenneth
but
Branagh did
he
the first
chose. Oh yeah, you're right. He did the second one, and his only other movie is Terminator Genesis, so that's great. Or no, his only other recent movie. And Alan Taylor has directed a bunch of Game of Thrones episodes, and he's also directed some of the best TV shows of all time. He's directed episodes from Mad Men, Breaking Bad. So, like, the fact that he did Thor: The Dark World is really depressing.
Well, the problem with Thor: The Dark World is that it was, like, I didn't think any of it was remarkably bad. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was remarkably bad.
According to some people who are wrong, sure.
Right. Well, who are right. Like, I can point to Drax and be like, that's a huge problem with this movie. Or I can point to David Hasselhoff showing up in a serious conversation and say, that's the problem with this movie. But in Thor: The Dark World, it's just like, nothing about this movie is bad, but
the Dark Elves.
nothing stands out as good.
The whole
Elves are
villain
nothing.
thing. The whole villain thing. But sidebar, and this is just a complete throw. I know Ty's never watched an episode of Game of Thrones. It's actually how we used to start the show. But this man, Alan Taylor, directed Beyond the Wall out of the last season, which was one of the best episodes that the whole series has had.
Really? I disagree. I think Beyond the Wall was the worst episode of that entire season.
Really? It's so...
But he directed the one after it, which was a lot better.
He did?
Yeah. He also directed Baylor, which a lot of people consider the best episode.
No,
ever. That's the
Baylor
one
is
in
great,
season
but
one.
he's not listed on, at least I'm looking at his Wikipedia, but he's not listed as directing that one, the next one.
Maybe it's a writing credit that I have it mixed with.
Gotcha. But
So
no, that
apologies if
episode
that's
was
good.
just beautiful, though.
It was beautiful, yeah. I just thought that the mechanics of it it was such a stretch. It was so rushed.
I can get you there. But I don't necessarily think Thor: The Dark World could entirely be blamed on him.
It's interesting though because like this is like basically the same writing team that did Thor Ragnarok, which I think is like a lot better. And so there aren't a lot of like common denominators between these two movies. Or there's not a lot of variables, I mean.
Well, I mean, it's the same writing team, but in Thor Ragnarok, it's a writing team that flopped writing Thor: The Dark World, and in Thor: The Dark World, that hasn't happened yet.
That's a good point. They learned from their mistakes.
Right. Like, you got to give them some credit. They are human beings who grow and develop.
I think
You
we're
don't
pretty
get to
quick.
be-
We're pretty quick to give a lot of credit to Taika Waititi for the movie, and I think he deserves a lot of credit because it's a movie with a lot of great vision. But it is, I mean, the screenplay was by Eric Pearson, and a lot of the stuff that we didn't like about the movie is
the screenplay in the movie was incredible.
Yeah.
The comedic timing, all the jokes that were stemmed so well into the actual action, the actual plot of the movie, that it never felt forced, and that's something that's hard to pull off from the whole team.
Yeah, and you can tell what parts are absolutely Taika. I mean, like the Korg, obviously. That's
God, Korg is the best.
Yeah, we can agree on that. We don't agree on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but we agree on Korg.
We can agree on Korg? Okay, Korg was just a shining moment in the whole Marvel series.
I want to say something really big, because I did a whole ranking of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all 17 films. Thor Ragnarok is my number 2.
Yeah, go ahead and list them off for us real quick. Let's dive into that for
Got
2
the time.
seconds.
Okay, well, my number 1 is, I'm just going to go through it. Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok, Captain America Civil War, The Avengers, Captain America Winter Soldier, Spider-Man Homecoming, Ant-Man, Iron Man, Guardians Volume 2, suck it, Captain America the First Avenger, Avengers Age of Ultron, Iron Man 3, Doctor Strange, Thor the Dark World, Thor, Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk.
So I'm glad we all agree on The Incredible Hulk.
We all agree on the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk.
I'm so surprised with your Iron Man ranking being below Ant-Man.
Honestly, it doesn't hold up. I revisited it for like the 5th or 6th time this past year, and I know you guys did too, and I don't know. Weak third act.
I just disagree. I can see an argument for literally 6 through 1. I don't know if I'd put Guardians at the top, although it is one of my all-time just favorite movies in general. I just don't, as a critic, don't think it holds up.
You guys called it overhyped, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. Like I do think it is like
I
overhyped.
have grown to love Guardians of the Galaxy much more than I ever thought I would just from doing this podcast. My aversion to the Guardians of the Galaxy when it first came out was so strong that it can't even be stated on film or on the podcast. It's like it was the first movie that anybody had ever gotten in my face and just been like, why haven't you seen this movie yet? It'll change your life. And I bid eventually. I went and saw it, and it was good, but my mind was too pre-blown that it couldn't be reblown by the movie.
But I can definitely see your whole first 8 being in the top 8. Like, I can see an argument for all of them. We put Age of Ultron over the Avengers, and we think people are too mean to Age of Ultron.
I like Age of Ultron a lot, and I actually think it's in some ways it's better than the Avengers. I'm not a hater of it. But I do think that the Avengers, for what it is, I mean, it's just so iconic, and it did it first that I kind of give it a little bit more,
And
a little bit of a curve.
No. You can't say that sentence and then put Iron Man at 8.
I mean, you can.
Yeah,
That's
I can
just not
because
fair.
Avengers has a perfect 3-act structure. Iron Man has I think the first 2/3 are amazing, and it's the 3rd act with Obadiah Stane. It's just, it's a stain on my life. Whereas the Avengers, I can rewatch.
Dane! Oh, that was good. I don't know if you meant to do that or not, but I laughed.
You think that Darren Cross is better than Obadiah Stane?
No. Not even a little bit, actually. But
this is I just don't understand this. That being said,
Thor Ragnarok number 2.
I see you have Captain America Winter Soldier at 5. A lot of people put it at number 1. We put it pretty low because it's honestly overhyped.
I mean, we have it at like 6 or 7.
But can you defend it for us? Can you tell us why people like it so much? Because I've doing a lot of reading and everything, it seems like a lot of people just say, "Oh, because it's just so great." I mean, it's just
a lot of people
just so amazing.
Yeah, a lot of people reference 2 things. They reference that it's such a good mix of 70s spy thriller and superhero, and that was enough novelty. And I think that a lot of people respond well to things they haven't seen before, but that they actually already have. And I just think it surprised people. That's all it really is. And I think it sounds like it's not too far away from where you guys have it. I think it's a fantastic movie, but you know what? It's not a movie that I like to revisit. A movie that I like to revisit is Captain America Civil War. I think that movie, what it pulls off is unbelievable. Like the things it juggles. That's why the only reason I don't think Infinity War is going to be a big old mess is because Civil War, same directors, they pulled off something amazing. They started with a community paintball episode and they just keep coming at us. And, Civil War, we're talking about a movie that introduces Black Panther and Spider-Man, and it works. So, that alone should just be remarkable.
Oh, I completely agree. Civil War, is unbelievable. My big hesitation with Infinity War is that it's going to have all of those characters, as well as the big characters of Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as Thor and Hulk, who are now huge rising stock, and is going to have to balance all of that as well. I'll
be honest, I'm very hopeful, but also terrified.
It feels good though, doesn't it? The fear.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I mean, if I'm going to put faith in anybody, it's going to be Disney and Marvel's team,
and the Russos.
I put much more faith with Disney and Marvel than I do Disney and Star Wars. I'm concerned about everything they make right now. Even though I absolutely loved The Last Jedi, I did not like Rogue One, and I'm nervous about Solo, and I have no idea what happens after The Last Jedi, and I don't even know what questions to be asking. So
we're exactly on the same page. I agree with everything you just said.
But no, I mean, we're completely in agreement on Captain America Civil War. We've currently got it at 3, so.
Wow. Look at us. What's your number 1?
Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Okay.
But that may change this evening.
See, with Thor Ragnarok, you guys asked me, it was like, can we talk about Thor Ragnarok? And I was like, okay, I'll be the mimosa to your bacon and eggs. But here's the thing. I haven't seen Thor Ragnarok since November. And, well, yeah, because Negroni is a cocktail, right? So, but yeah, I funny enough, I was like, how am I going to watch this movie? I don't think it was playing anywhere in the Bay Area. But as luck would have it, I was flying to Toronto a few days ago. And guess what my in-flight movie was?
There you go.
Thor Ragnarok. I watched it on a plane. And you know what? I really liked the Thor Ragnarok the first time. I loved it the second time. The first time I was like, this is a good movie. I think it's hilarious. Momentary pleasures. Second time, I was like, this is genius. Like this movie is just so like I can't stop talking about it.
I had a very similar reaction. If you listen to our brunch when we talked about it, like initial thoughts after the theater.
I did.
We were both super excited about it. But then as I kind of let it like marinate with me, I was kind of like, man, I don't know if that's gonna hold up. Mm-hmm. And then when I watched it again today, I was like, this is the best movie. I love this. This is
I knew
awesome.
It was going to hold it for me. This is the fourth time I've seen it. I'll be really honest with you. Because people kept asking me to go with them in the theaters. And so I was like totally chill with that. So
And Ethan has a endless budget to see movies, apparently.
I have Movie Pass.
John, you go to movies on, you have Movie Pass as well, but don't you occasionally get the like Media Pass or whatever to go see movies?
Yeah, I almost always get invited to the Marvel flicks. So I'll see Black Panther on Tuesday. So a couple of days ahead of time. I unfortunately couldn't go to the earlier one, which was this week.
I'm jealous.
But I still use MoviePass all the time because,
Don't you despise MoviePass? Don't you have like an ongoing war with MoviePass?
Yes.
No.
But I've been a customer of MoviePass for like 4 or 5 years. So
it's been around for 4 years?
Yeah, it's been around like for 6.
I only had heard about it since maybe October.
Yeah, because their new pricing model went viral. But before that, they only had about 20,000 subscribers. Raises my hand, I'm one of them. And I was paying like $45 for the same service, but with fewer features. But because I watched so many movies in a month, it actually was worth it. It was basically a Groupon for the longest time. It used to be actually $15 for a whole month. But here's the thing. There was a 24-hour clock. If you watched a movie at 7:30, you couldn't watch another movie until the next day after 7:30. There was a period of time where you had to take a picture of your ticket after you bought your ticket, and it was glitchy as all get out. And so I've been with MoviePass long enough that I can say whatever I want about MoviePass.
Fair enough.
And I go after them. Tyler knows pretty regularly. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm seeing it on Twitter as well. I mean, and it cracks me up that it's just this like because I love the service so much because I'm brand new at it. I just got it in December, so it's like it's been the greatest thing ever since then. I've seen every movie I've wanted to see consequence free, essentially.
Yeah, thin line between love and hate.
I've still only seen Jumanji with my Movie Pass, which is bad as a film reviewer here in Oscar season. I should probably take advantage of that a little bit more.
I've spent $20 on it and being like 9 movies.
I've seen exactly 0 of the Best Picture Oscar nominated films, so I feel like I should get on that with my Movie Pass.
I see at least 7 or 8 a month or something like that.
So you're on it. You see a bunch, yeah.
Yeah, I try to, but that's the thing.
Sometimes you guys on Cinemaholics do all the new movies.
Yeah, that's our thing.
This is also your day job, right?
No.
What's your day? What do you? You wake up and you go to work. What are you doing?
I'm a copywriter for a certain tech company that I will not say out loud because I do not want to be coming across as if I am representative of them in any way. Yeah,
I understand that entirely.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we got emails just the other day at my old job about how we were not allowed to speak for the company.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Exactly.
I work for a small business,
yeah.
So my boss loves the fact that I have a podcast.
Yeah, it's just free advertising, right?
Well, I never talk about the job, so no, not exactly.
Oh, jeez. Well, here's your opportunity.
No.
No, this isn't
We talk about movies, not insurance sales.
Cinemaholics podcast. Check it out. iTunes.
It's actually fantastic.
I really did enjoy it. I've subscribed. I told you about 2 weeks ago, John, that I had subscribed, but I've been quite busy these past 2 weeks, quitting my job and getting a new one. So unfortunately, I've only had time to listen to 1 or 2 episodes. But
I didn't know you were going through that, man.
It's not like a bad thing. Like there was an opportunity that came my way, and I took it.
Oh, and congratulations!
There's just a lot of transition involved with that.
Well, Cinemaholics. It's a podcast.
Cinemaholics.
So you're also a published author, correct?
Yeah, I've written 2 books.
That's so.
A novel and quick. There's the Pixar Theory, which is the novelization of the blog post. Yeah, and then there's a novel I wrote called Killer Joy, and the sequel is about a month away from being completed.
Fair enough.
Is it on Audible?
No, but we've been working on the Audible, so hopefully that's going to be coming out soon.
So what is...
I can't read.
Oh.
You can read, actually.
I mean, I know what this Rockstar can says, but like...
What is Killer Joy about?
Killer Joy is a fantasy, and it is about it's Lord of the Rings meets Watchmen. That's all I'll tell you. Yeah.
Okay. I'm
so it's
intrigued.
superheroes in a futuristic high fantasy concept world.
Okay. Where can I get a copy of it?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
So just the
All
big
you have
booksellers?
to, yeah, just be like Killer Joy, and they'll be like Killjoy, and you'll be like, that's what you're turning me into. And then I've had this conversation.
So can you hold on? Can we give it away? Can we get like a couple copies to give away?
Sure. I'm actually doing a new cover design, and it's not ready yet, but sure, yeah.
Neat. All right, cool. That's what I wanted to know. I like giving things away. Yeah. I'm a big fan of that.
Hopefully your listeners like, fantasy, and they're listening to Thor Ragnarok, and I'm like, man, I love superheroes. Oh, and I also love fantasy and Lord of the Rings. I wish there was a book that did both. There you go.
There you go.
Boom, there it
There's
is.
your book. There's your book.
It's called Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman.
I actually have a Neil Gaiman. I actually have 2 books by Neil Gaiman right here: American Gods and Neverwhere on my shelf.
Oh, those are
I've
2 of my all-time favorite books, sir.
Oh, they're classics.
Yeah, I've read them an embarrassing amount of times, and by that I mean listen to them.
Do you watch the show American Gods?
I did.
What'd you think?
I loved it. It was very different, but I loved it.
It is different. It's very different from the show, and I like.
But I was able to separate it enough, I think, in my mind to still enjoy it. That is something I generally struggle with, like a lot of people.
So that's Cinemaholics podcast. Subscribe.
At Cinemaholics PLC or something.
Yeah, we review new movies every week. We're talking about all kinds of new ones every
Was
week.
Paddington really that good?
I love Paddington. You've never seen it?
No.
Well, the first one's on Netflix. Try to watch it. It's charming, and it makes you feel good about the world.
But
I
is
went
it
into Paddington.
100%? Is the second one 100% good?
Yes, I was losing my mind in the theater, and I don't think everyone's gonna. I went with Maverick Hines. He's my co-host on Cinemaholics, and he didn't get it. He was bored. Maybe that's going to be you too. I don't know. But I was having the time of my life. Will Ashen, my other co-host, loves the film as well. It just some things in this world are good, and Paddington is one of them.
I just don't know. You just said try to watch it on Netflix like it's going to be a challenge.
It's not for everybody.
And
It's not for everybody. Like, I went into Paddington, the first one, thinking it was going to be hot garbage, and I walked out of it a changed man.
Interesting. So it's not just like Ted without swearing?
Yeah, here's the thing. It's not the kind of movie that's going to blow you away. It isn't. It's got 100% because it's so crowd pleasing. Like everything about it is sharp. It's good writing. It's funny. It's cute. It's good for kids. It's good for adults. It's that kind of thing. It's almost like a live action Pixar movie in some ways. I don't want to say that too far, but like, yeah, that's kind of where it's at.
Well, yeah, because I saw most of the early reviews on it, and I figured, because a lot of things started 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's part of a lot of problem that people have with it. But I looked at the actual reviews for it, and a lot of the comments were just, yeah, no, I expected to hate this, and I just can't.
That's what happened.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's sticking at 100%, it looks like.
Well, we're really getting into some time here. Let's start diving into Thor Ragnarok. Ethan, do you want to start taking us through the plot,
Yeah,
story,
so,
the scene for scene?
Personally, this first whole intro scene is one of my favorite things of the whole movie. It's such a great exposition to this new Thor character we've got. And correct,
Yeah,
if you guys don't agree with that, that's fine. I know a lot of people didn't like the early jokes in this movie, and I disagree entirely with that.
I'll admit this. During this opening scene, when I was in the theater and he was like rotating around and he was like, "What? Wait, Surtur. I've got to... Hold on. I'm not even... Just... Wait a minute." I was like, oh, crap.
You could
What
hear the
happened?
laugh track that they almost thought about putting in there, right?
Yeah, I know. I thought I was watching Big Bang Theory for a second. And I was like, oh, crap. What are they about to do to this
He's about to
movie?
say
What?
bazinga, isn't he?
Right. Oh, my God. What happened? And then... But I laughed because it was funny. It is funny. And then...
Well, yeah,
Fortunately...
I got scared immediately because I thought it was just a voiceover. Like, it was just going to be narrated like Iron Man 3 was.
Oh, that
Was he doing the, oh no, Thor in a cage, how did this happen?
Once Immigrant Song starts, that's when I started with this movie.
That's when I was like... That's when I stopped concern and was like...
Right, and that's when I first started
this whole
thinking,
thing.
okay, this is not what I was expecting, but I'm excited.
Yeah.
But no,
And...
it's just a great introduction to what we're gonna get from post Guardians of the Galaxy Thor.
Yeah, this is... Listen, just real quick, Ethan said this the other day, but this movie is the sequel Guardians of the Galaxy deserved, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was hot garbage.
Wrong. It was the B-side, the deep cut, but go on.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry, I can't live with this. If Yondu wasn't in the movie, it would have been unwatchable.
The Thor Ragnarok is pretty great. We agree on that. That's good.
Yes,
Yes, we do.
Oh my God. Sorry, Ty keeps distracting me with this talk of Guardians 2, which is something we already spoke of, and I don't want to speak of again because I know I'm just going to be upset, and I can live with people having different opinions. I promise.
So
People make the same criticism about both movies. They look at Guardians and are like, too many jokes. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the jokes. And then people looked at Thor and were like, there are a lot of jokes in that, and I laughed. But am I going to, in a few months, am I going to be like, that was funny back then? It's not funny. It doesn't hold up. And it does. The comedy is legitimately better.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. My first note in here after the sort of you son of a bitch, is... then we get introduced to, the whole like fight scene, immigrant song, super exciting, super fun. First people to do it since Jack Black did it in School of Rock. And then we get introduced to Scourge. What do you guys think of Scourge? 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 Scourge. What do you think of this guy?
Not great. He's not bad either.
Now, which of it, when you guys did your episode, which of you guys had an issue with Karl Urban being too charismatic for the character?
That was Will. Will specifically said that it wasn't that Karl Urban was too charismatic. He didn't like how Karl Urban was so... he didn't like that Karl Urban was an actor that's that good and that kind of a role, that he didn't have a bigger... But, I mean, this is the same movie where Matt Damon literally is like a throwaway, kind of character.
Oh, okay, so he was concerned with Karl Urban not getting enough of a...
Yeah, he just
go.
didn't think the role fit. Like, he expected more. Because, I mean, Karl Urban, I don't know, Scotty, and he's had decent roles in the past with Star Trek and all that, and I kind of get what he's saying. But I think that's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. People get second chances. Like, actors show up again as different characters all the time.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get Karl Urban again.
We had Chris Evans as the Human Torch.
Well, no, even if you stick within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if you go Iron Man to Thor Ragnarok, we've seen people do different roles.
Oh, for sure.
Right? So, yeah.
Yeah, there's the guy, what's his name? The Asian gentleman that's part of the Howling Commandos, Jim Morita, that comes and is the president, not president, the principal, his great-grandson or whatever in Spider-Man.
That's true. I think that's a stretch.
I don't remember what other role he was in, but yeah, totally, man.
Well...
No, okay. So he was not to get this. It's the same actor, and he was the principal in Spider-Man, and in Captain America, the first Avenger, he's the Asian guy that says I'm from Brooklyn or whatever.
Oh, nice catch.
Well, and I think it's a mistake for anybody to rule out Bradley Cooper as a live action hero in the future.
Right.
Because he would make a great hero. Same with Vin Diesel, for that matter.
I don't know if I could see Vin Diesel in the MCU outside of being Groot.
I could. I don't see what the problem is there.
Well, because we couldn't find a character for Dwayne The Rock Johnson. How are we going to find a character for Vin Diesel?
I'm sure we could find a character for Dwayne Johnson. No.
But did we
I'm
find
just
a
not
character?
educated enough.
Did we find a character for Karl Urban? Because I'm still torn on that.
I think we did. I think
he was funny.
My first watch through, I was annoyed by this character, and this watch through, I was like, this is a huge arc that this guy goes through, from nobody, janitor, doesn't even care about some of the greatest heroes in Asgard dying right in front of him, to Asgard's hero at the end. And yeah, he's all doing it for glory, but that's the Asgardian way.
Right.
Do everything.
I think
for
if he
glory.
hadn't gotten redeemed at the end, I would have hated him.
This might be a stretch, but the only way that I look at it, and I say this is decent writing, is if you're looking at the movie from the lens of redeeming white imperialists, and you're looking at Asgard as the European colonialism of the Americas, and it's that kind of parallel storytelling going on, which is what makes, I think, Thor legitimately about something, then you can actually look at Scourge as the avatar of the person who self-sacrifices for the good of future and change, somebody who is guilty of sins involved, but he finds a way to redeem himself. If you look at it through that, maybe it works.
John, I'm not gonna, you said you don't want it to be a stretch. I don't know how big yoga is in California.
Huge.
But listen, that's not a stretch. That's downward dog right there. What just happened? I'm blown away. I literally was looking around the room I don't even know what's about to happen to me.
So Tyler, you're surprised that the guy who theorized Pixar movies fitting into a single narrative can stretch things.
And this is surprising that Tyler's surprised by this, because he's the one that likes to reach.
Yeah,
I do like to reach. It's all there is to it.
No, but I think you're absolutely correct. Is that and whatever narrative you want to tie to it, it has to. That's the only way it's the same thing I have with Yondu, but it's the only way he gets redemption is to kind of sacrifice himself for the things he's done.
Yeah. Yondu was better though.
Oh, Yondu was absolutely better. I'm not doubting that.
Yondu
for a
killed
second.
millions of children.
He didn't know what he was doing.
I don't think that makes it okay.
Yeah, I'm actually on the side, because I did listen to this. I'm actually on the side that Yondu, as soon as he found out what was going on, that's when he saved Peter Quill.
Oh, for sure. But like that doesn't make it okay.
It doesn't absolve
That's
him,
like-
but
No.
like it's just sort of, he's not a good guy really. He's an anti-hero at best. He's an antagonist in the first film.
Right, and he dies to save Peter and Ego.
If anything, I like that the aliens and like the universe of the Marvel films is this merciless. I like it. Give us more.
I do like that they're getting a little darker.
Yeah.
While also getting lighter
Yeah, that's true
at
too.
the same time.
I mean, the MCU is really in the last few movies, especially the ones that are about to come up, I think, developing a new kind of role for itself. And maybe they'll just shatter it all apart with Infinity War Parts 1 and 2. But
Retcon it?
Who knows? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
But they're going to keep
I mean,
taking us to
yeah,
weird
it's-
places. That's the good thing.
Well, and they just gotten out with all of their like original franchise characters that they have to pay gazillions of dollars to keep. Like they can now, because now they have all of Fox and everything, they can just kill off Iron Man and Captain America. And I think they'll keep Thor around because of the success that this was.
They've been planning
But-
that for over a decade, though, because you can see how they write in the Marvel comics. They're trying to create new characters in the comics that will replace the ones today. So that's why we have a Muslim Miss Marvel, because they want to have that kind of representation showing up eventually. So we're going to have a Muslim Miss Marvel. We're going to have a Black Iron Woman. That they're already putting in the work. It's not going to be long before they're going to rise up. It's going to be like the next generation of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh yeah, for sure, and you can see it. I mean, like the only person I think that's finished a trilogy that's guaranteed to stay after Infinity War is Thor because of Ragnarok.
Thor dies in the comics way before Civil War, and so it would be kind of interesting if they just changed it up, which they totally could. I mean, they got a hit on that.
It's all.
There's some part of me
At the end
that
of the day, it is all fiction.
some part of me that's definitely
That's
just
true.
hoping that Infinity War ends in just an absolute bloodbath. Where
There's a part 2. Who's going to be in that?
well, no, Infinity War Part 2. When it's all said and done at the end of this Infinity
okay.
War, that after Part 2 that we are left with like none of the old guard.
Like Tony's
Well, I
vision
mean-
comes to pass from
Right.
Age of Ultron.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's probably not going to happen. That it's going to be a little neat and cute and tied up together. But one can dream.
I think the way you approach it is that like all the flagship characters are going to get a trilogy, right? That's the way I feel like it is. And like Iron Man had his trilogy and then they were like, okay, but we can't stop putting Iron Man in things. Like that's not going to happen. So they're going to just keep putting him in until Infinity War and then kill him off. And same with Captain America, and they'll pass that gauntlet. And yeah, that's kind of the way I see it. And that's how you know that like Doctor Strange is going to keep going and Ant-Man is definitely going to keep going because we have previews for his next movie. Like he doesn't die.
And doesn't necessarily mean that the old guard dies. Some of them are going to die. Captain America's going to die. But I could see Tony Stark going into the cosmos and doing his Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, because that would be part of the source material. They could leave it open for a movie if people demand it, but he doesn't have to necessarily die. He just goes off into space and no one cares about him anymore. But then maybe he gets to have like a little romance with Gamora in some movie later on. I don't know.
I'm so intrigued that you think Captain America definitely going to die.
Oh,
Iron
100%.
Man, Iron Man maybe.
He's got to
I
die. His arc, I mean, look at his character arc in all 3 of the Captain America movies. It's over. Like everything about that character that needs to be said has been said. And it's something that
Well,
he
yeah,
would
because
want.
he's had the best movies.
Yeah, it's true, basically.
So you said earlier that you hated Matt Damon. Did you hate Matt Damon in this movie? Did you hate that he was
It's like how Jimmy Kimmel hates Matt Damon. I like having Matt Damon around to just
You're basically Jimmy Kimmel, is what I'm saying.
wow, Johnny Kimmel.
That's so weird because I
Johnny
so
Kimmel.
dislike Jimmy Kimmel.
Right.
You don't like
now,
Kimmel?
That makes sense.
No, out of all of the like late night hosts that have like pretty much ever been on television, I think I like Jimmy Kimmel the least.
Really?
This is the guy that looks exactly like James Corden. I believe it.
I do not look like James Corden.
You gotta at least
It's
like
not
Kimmel
even
over
like-
Craig Ferguson.
I love Craig Ferguson.
Oh my gosh.
He's hysterical, but he might just be hysterical because he's like foreign. But
What?
he's Scottish,
Right, yeah.
so he just says a lot of things that I just enjoy because they're not things that people.
I'm more of a Jim Jeffries guy,
like me
I
say.
guess.
But no, if I have to pick a Jimmy, I like Fallon.
I like Fallon.
We should move
Although
on.
some great things have come out of Kimmel, like the celebrities read mean tweets thing, gets me every time.
Oh, yeah.
Every time.
I just like
I mean,
Kimmel.
the
I like
whole-
the way he roasts Matt Damon on a regular basis. I dig
That
it.
is hysterical. Yeah, I was just watching earlier an interview with Chris Hemsworth where they just kept cutting to Matt Damon.
Yeah, when they did the was it the Oscars? It was some big event when he was doing that to Matt Damon again. I think it was like 2 years ago. They did the We Bought a Zoo. It's a whole thing. I'm not going to be able to get it right, but all that to say, I just don't like Matt Damon movies. I see him in movies and like I see him in The Martian. I'm like, I don't care, but I don't want it. But I like that movie, but like. I like that movie and Good Will Hunting, and I don't really like any other Matt Damon movies, I don't think. But when I
Like
saw
the
him in
Ocean's series.
he's my least favorite part of those movies.
Really?
Yeah.
The nose plays, dude.
I think
Yeah.
that the Ocean's movies is the best thing that Matt Damon's done, probably as Matt Damon. I kind of agree with you actually, in that like I don't really like the I like the Bourne movies, but I think they could have really been anybody.
I was never into them. I don't know why. I'm more of a James Bond, Mission Impossible. That's where I'm at.
I think, well, to me, Matt Damon is pretty much interchangeable for any white dude actor.
He's got his whole like entourage, Ben Affleck and that whole crew.
I think most Matt Damon movies would be better as Ben Affleck movies.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, it's like you hate this butterscotch lollipop. Well, here's this root beer lollipop. I don't know.
Well, you literally just named 2 of my favorite lollipops.
This keeps happening. Okay. But no, seeing Matt Damon in Thor Ragnarok was hilarious to me because that was perfect. I just think that's Marvel just showing off at this point, and I'm good with that. I think some people like to dislike Marvel because it's fun to be a contrarian, and I do it all the time. And but with them, just be able to say like, yeah, we got Matt Damon, one of the Hemsworths, and freaking Sam Neill just to show up on set for like one day.
I was so distracted by Matt Damon that I missed Sam Neill the first time.
It's hard to catch, but yeah. Yeah.
And that was surprising for me because I've seen Jurassic Park more than any other movie. There was a time in my life when I was probably like 7 or 8 that I used to just come home from school every day and watch Jurassic Park.
That was when I was 8. I think that was Clooney's Batman and Robin.
It's a fun connection too because Neil is in this movie, and then of course Goldblum is in this movie as one of the best characters.
Oh yeah.
You think okay? This is another one of those I needed it a second time around things. I did not like get the Goldblum thing the first time I watched it. I was just like, this is funny, but I don't feel like I'm getting enough of it, or maybe I'm getting too much. I just can't quite figure it out. And then the second time around, I realized how much they give you, and I don't think he had a script. I think he just showed up and did his Goldblum thing, and it was kind of like Caddyshack, where they were just like, this is what happens in this scene, and just kind of go with it.
I think that's why I like it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, the stock rose 100 times.
It feels like Jeff Goldblum playing Jeff Goldblum, or at least what I know Jeff Goldblum to be.
What I love about it is that I totally buy that he is the collector's brother, and that I just want to see Goldblum and Benicio del Toro together on screen at some point. I think that would just be, but I just buy it. I totally buy that he is like a daunting somebody who is like an elder of the universe, like in the comics, and it's just Goldblum's larger than life. He just fits it.
Oh, for sure. And he's like this, like he's like mercilessly naive. I think is the way he at least wants
because
to
you can
be
safely
portrayed.
assume by the things that are said in the movie that he's been around for a long time. He's seen and done almost everything, but has never really enjoyed any significant amount of power outside of Sakaar.
He's neutral evil, which is hard to pull off in most fictions.
Right. It's like he's clearly the bad guy, but you know. He doesn't.
He's not the bad guy.
Right, he's not the bad guy, and you can kind of love him, you can kind of hate him.
Well, and he doesn't have evil motives. Like, to him, it's just everything bad that's happening to you is just how he lives his life. Like, he's already gone through the whole process of, like, ruling a land and having a gladiator fight. Now, the bad thing that happens to you is that, oh crap, you're the gladiator in this guy's life. But like, he doesn't care if it's Thor and the Hulk. He just wants a good fight.
But he cares about what other people think of him, it's what makes him sympathetic. The reason the character works is because he gets that one line where he's like, don't call them slaves. Okay, the prisoners with jobs. And that's all you really need to know about that character. That's why you're able to not totally hate him, because you're like, oh, he's trying, but he's failing, and that's amusing.
Right. It's like he could put in just the tiniest bit of effort to be a good guy,
Yeah.
Well,
but he's not going to.
But you also get the feeling that things could probably be a lot worse.
Yes.
Like, maybe he does have slaves, maybe he does, do some reprehensible things, but Sakaar seems like a pretty god-awful place to be.
But that's the thing. For him, he's a pleasure seeker. So what makes his character interesting is he's a pleasure seeker in a city where a lot of people don't get to experience that. And so it's a nice commentary on hedonism.
He also brings joy to a lot of people with his, gladiator fights and parades and
his orgy.
I've seen
machine.
what Philadelphia Eagle fans can do to a city. I'm sure they're very similar to Sakaarians.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's just ancient Rome in a nutshell.
Yeah. What a weird thing. Man, ancient Rome doesn't make any sense. I'm sure if I was a little bit more educated, it would, but like, these dudes just like straight up like, oh, that's our neighboring country. Let's just kill them today.
But the Romans?
Doesn't make, yeah.
Well, no, but I mean, they would conquer people, but they would let them keep their religions, and it actually worked for hundreds of years.
Yeah, that's the reason why the Roman Empire was so successful and so long-standing, is because they were a lot less kind of shitty than everybody else.
Yeah, like the Greeks, the way that Alexander the Great, there's a reason his hold didn't really last that long.
I'm learning so much. Because the way it was always taught to me by a pretty apathetic Latin teacher was like, and then they just decided to attack Carthage. Like,
Well, that was pretty early on,
what?
yeah. Well,
Why
they
did
were
they do that?
they were blood enemies with Carthage, and it was all about power and resources. And that was a strategic victory for the Romans. I mean, after that, the Romans were able to have an army big enough to conquer all the neighboring, all the neighbors, I guess, neighboring countries. I don't think they were countries at that point.
Lands,
Thanks for teaching us Thor Ragnarok. You did it again.
connected cities. Yeah,
You taught us all about ancient Rome.
not quite
Thanks,
the mythology
Jack
they were
Goldblum.
going for.
Yeah.
This one did lay off the mythos a little bit, and I'm not sure I hate it, but I'm also not sure I love it.
It also like revealed more of like how durable Asgardians are, because in Dark World they do make a point to be like, okay, their lifespan's like 5,000 years old, but it's always kind of weird, like what can really kill an Asgardian? And this movie, you get a little bit more of like what they're capable of.
Yeah, like when he's punching Hulk and like winning that fight, you kind of get an idea not only of how strong Thor is, but like my immediate reaction to that was like, man, Tony must be freaking horrified around these guys. Like, because Tony's just a man in a can, right? That's
Well, I
what
mean,
he
think
says.
about Hawkeye.
Oh, Hawkeye's the greatest hero of all time. I'm sure he's not worried about anything at all.
Oh.
He's got something to fight for, a family.
Tony doesn't have family, just Pepper Potts and Happy,
Yeah.
and his basically adopted teenage son.
Yeah, so let's just be real here. That's his secretary and his bodyguard who he turned into friends.
Hey, friends are the family you choose.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is Bacon and Eggs, where Ty has strong anti-Tony opinions.
Tony's not even who Tony says he is.
The
okay?
nuclear
Like,
family is the only.
Tyler
Thor Ragnarok.
Tyler firmly believes that Tony Stark is a Skrull.
Well, yeah.
Just
there's-
because
there's
Tony
no
doesn't
way.
have two brothers with a YouTube channel, he can't be capable of family. Okay, I get it.
Here's the thing about Tony, is he just doesn't...
Here's the thing about Tony is he's not in this movie.
He's not. Well, they
The
tried.
only
They
Marvel
certainly
movie.
tried. Yeah, they certainly tried. They put his outfit in there.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that was
echoes.
hysterical.
that was hysterical. When Mark Ruffalo in this movie, I think people are always talking about how funny Thor is in this movie. Mark Ruffalo is hysterical in this film. Like every time he's on screen, he says something that made me laugh out loud.
One of the best scenes in the movie is when Banner and Thor are sitting together, and he's just like, "You're just using me to get to Asgard. You're not my friend." Like, destroys me. It destroys me.
Destroy. I laughed out loud every time that joke happened.
This movie's so funny.
No, I like you, Banner. Not Hulk. Hulk, what are you up to?
He-
Winning.
But I thought that was a really good way to narrate the Hulk character. Is like the Thor movies, the previous Thor movies, have very much spun on this axis of Thor being this fish out of water character. And now in this movie, he's pretty confident. He's been this lone wolf survivor for a couple of years now, chasing down Infinity Stones, not finding them, but chasing them down anyway.
Hasn't found any.
Yeah, and so now they have to play Mark Ruffalo, Bruce Banner, as this fish so far out of water character who comes back to reality for the first time in a couple years and sees a city that worships him.
Golly.
Never even feeds into his ego, though. What a guy.
Well,
I mean, he's got to be.
well, he's not. He's an ego kind of guy in the sense that he's got 7 PhDs. He's not an ego kind of guy in that he wants gladiatorial glory.
Yeah, he doesn't care what you think as long as you know how smart he is.
Right.
I honestly
7 PhDs, dude. That's so many PhDs.
It really okay. The first time I watched this movie, the one of the things I did find kind of was the Hulk arc. Because I was like, well, the Hulk arc never really goes anywhere because he doesn't really want to go to Asgard. And they kind of just forget that he's like a character in the movie with motivations. He just kind of goes with Thor along for the ride. Second time, I think it's like what you said, the way that he and Hulk each have a hand on the wheel and the sort of like the differences between them. And like, I thought all of that works a lot better when you know what's going to happen and you can actually give it some credit.
Right, and you can see it coming, that like he is going to transform back, and that he doesn't know where he's been, and that he has been Hulk for so long.
Yeah, very good
Wait,
twist.
this is, I mean, as far as spoilers and everything go, this is, like, I listened to this in your review and it wasn't even brought up, and I can't believe we haven't mentioned it now. The Hulk can talk now? Is that okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with it. You seem to be okay with it. Ethan was okay with it. But it was like...
It's a sticking point for a lot of people.
It wasn't something I expected even a little bit.
It was in the trailers.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. There's
it was.
in one of the trailers. Yeah, it's the scene where he's sitting with Thor and he's like Hulk, like raging fire. You know.
Oh, I don't remember that from the trailer, so maybe that's why I was so shocked by it.
Yeah.
But-
Well, and generally the response that I've seen from people who didn't like this Hulk portrayal is they're essentially saying, if you're going to give us baby Hulk, we want Planet Hulk.
But I like what they did here
Well-
instead because like it's not baby Hulk. He acts like a teenager.
Right.
So that's why it works.
Right, and the flat out answer was they were never going to do Planet Hulk.
No.
It wasn't going to happen. And yeah, I think maybe bringing, if you wanted to avoid the controversy, maybe going to Sakaar wasn't the best idea, but
Yeah, well, I mean, they had all the nods to Planet Hulk that I think they needed. The gladiatorial stuff. They had the friendship with Valkyrie. It was kind of a nice little niche to the fact that Hulk makes friends at all, and also the fact that he can talk and all that stuff in Planet Hulk. I think that's fine. That's all you need. And the Cronin, obviously, having Korg there.
Oh, Korg.
What a guy.
What a shining. I got a little Korg pop right here sitting with me.
You think Korg is thinking about us
Korg
right now?
is just a great comic relief character in a movie that almost didn't need a comic relief character, but got one anyway, and it didn't ruin it.
Yeah, and don't forget about Meek.
How could you forget about Meek? He's got knives for hands.
Yeah. He's alive.
You got some. No reason to be concerned unless you've got some scissors. Just a
So made out of scissors?
The scissors joke.
It's such a, yes, the movie could have totally happened without him. 100%. He's not a character, he's just a character that's there for a good time. And normally I dislike that, but this time I just couldn't.
He serves the plot too, though.
No.
Getting Loki, being a colorful character that we can see in future movies, it works.
Well, he serves the plot, but he could have just as easily served the plot if he was voiced by some, no-name, just voice a pile of rocks kind of character.
Right. If you're going to have a character that only does exposition for a majority of the film to explain, okay, Thor, here's where you're at, here's what you need to do, they did it in the most entertaining way possible.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, 100%. So, on the topic of Loki, though, a lot of people have an issue with Loki in this movie. A lot of people that I've spoken with. In that, they're thinking it hinges too much on Loki. And I don't see that at all.
Really? Yeah, I don't see it either. I think he's in it just the right amount. I mean, there's some good drama between him and Thor. I think it works.
Yeah, but I guess people are tired of the Thor and Loki thing.
But it's different in this movie because Thor sees through it, and it's a totally different
Calls
dynamic.
him on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they talk
Yeah.
like real people for the first time.
You really get the sense that that Thor has naturally grown by hanging out with these Avengers. He's learned to be a little bit less naive and a little bit more he talks a bit more like his friends. He's become a little bit more like Tony, a little bit like Captain America. I really like that, and the fact that he's now so mature that he can actually overlook his baggage with Loki and be able to navigate it. I thought was great character
Yeah,
development.
and just
over
have a
the
real
course of
conversation
films.
and say, "Hey, Loki, I looked up to you. You were everything to me, and I never wanted you to go away. I never wanted you to be like this. I never saw you as this horrible person that you tried to be."
Thanks, Ethan. Oh, you were talking about the movie. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, talking about the movie.
Yeah.
But no, I loved Loki. Then they finally cemented him as not being a villain. Yes, he's he's still got his shady moments, but he's not going to come back as another big bad.
I don't know. I've seen him handing that Tesseract over.
Yeah, he gave it a side look.
We
know what that side
we'll
look
see.
means.
There's only so much we can know about Infinity War until it happens.
They were really smart
It's true.
to kill off the Warriors 3, because then it just leaves room for Loki and Heimdall.
Oh my gosh. They were so smart to kill off so many people. They were like, you know what? This whole Warriors 3 thing, we're not doing Norse mythology anymore. Kill them. Knock them out.
Well,
Stop
they
paying,
literally did Ragnarok, which ends all of Norse mythology.
Stop paying
Right.
Zachary Levi. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but they were like, you know what? We don't even need these guys to get on the ship. Just bing, bang, boom.
Right.
Let's knock them out.
Which I was kind of sad about. A little bit.
I wasn't.
I like
was
the
not
guy
even
with the
remotely
mace.
sad about it.
Hogan
Yeah.
had the best death of all of them, obviously, because he's the one that didn't get murked by a knife in 5 seconds.
Oh my
I'll
gosh.
tell you, a lot of people will have this debate, what's the best superpower to have, and people will talk about controlling time or controlling flight or being able to fly or invisibility. The greatest power of all time is being able to summon monstrously large swords out of nowhere, right? That would be much better than everything else. What do you think?
Still Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell, the way he could freeze time.
Yeah, most valuable superpower ever.
I mean, I think there are several characters in the MCU that could pretty handily do away with Hela.
Like who?
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah, okay.
Vision.
Well, I don't know. I don't think Vision could take her. I mean, we're talking about a millennia old goddess at the height of her powers in Asgard. I don't know. It took all of and I don't think she's totally dead, do you?
No. I mean, they left it open so that, if they want Hela and Red Skull to show up when the Tesseract is touched or whatever, then go for it.
Yeah, they've done that several times. I mean, there's no way Abomination's dead. I don't think they're
mean,
going to bring
what is it
Abomination
called?
back, but there's no way that killed him.
Well, plus there's the dude from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou hulking out somewhere that they haven't just mentioned at all.
Forgot all about him.
Oh,
And the timeline for
Exactly.
these movies
Mr.
is
Baloo.
so off that it's hard to keep track of like how long it's really been.
we covered that in the episode of Spider-Man because of the 8 years later thing, and the answer is that there is a timeline, but nobody knows what it is, and it doesn't make sense.
Kevin
Well, it's allowed to not make sense. There's a person in it who can just undo time if he wants to.
Feige released a thing that basically says all the movies leading up to Avengers happen really close to each other, and that's why it's 8 years later. It's confusing. But basically, they're all supposed to happen in like 2009 or something.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting out of it.
Yeah.
Because if it did happen in 2012 when people are saying it did, then Spider-Man Homecoming would have to be 2020, and nobody's buying that one.
But it also fits that it's been 2 years since Sokovia, so Thor Ragnarok dates itself for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there are certain hard points that can't be meddled
No,
with.
Thor Ragnarok dates itself only kind of, because they gave themselves an out when Loki was like, yeah, I've been here for weeks, schmoozing with the Grand Master.
Well, no, he says at the beginning of the movie that it's been 2 years since Sokovia.
Right.
You're talking about
but
something
then the
else.
Grand Master's...
Yeah, what?
Yeah, at the beginning of the movie, he says it's been 2 years since Sokovia. But when he's talking to Hulk and he says Sokovia was 2 years ago, you got to take that with a grain of salt, because who knows how much time in Sakaar time has passed.
Right,
And
but...
because the Grand Master even says, like, people would call me thousands of years old or whatever.
Okay, but at
he
least
says.
the beginning of the movie is tied to a date.
Yes, the beginning of the movie is 2 years out.
Right, and so like there being a lot of time on Sakaar doesn't affect the other time. So I think
No,
if
but
anything,
that leaves an out for Infinity War to kind of take place whenever.
yeah, it is kind of confusing too because Black Panther is supposed to be happening right now. I'm confused.
Well, the Kevin Feige says he's eventually going to release a timeline. So
Yeah,
like I said in a past episode, I believe that there is somebody. I firmly believe there's somebody sitting.
It's gonna be on the back of George R. R. Martin's Winds of Winter.
Exactly.
Have fun.
There's somebody.
Yeah, Kevin Feige,
There's somebody in a room at Marvel with the DVDs and some string pinning down each episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now.
No,
yeah,
you're
I
right.
mean, you gotta think, Kevin Feige's sitting there. This is an unprecedented thing. This is like a 17... Like, if you were to just take the hero titles out of it and just call it, like, Marvel 1 is Iron Man 1, and Marvel 2 is The Incredible Hulk, and Marvel 3 is, like, and just Marvel 1 through 18, that's never been done before. Ever.
I mean,
So, the
Bond,
fact that this timeline's a little messed up. But Bond, like, repeats movies.
Yeah,
once.
that you can't really follow that.
it's just because
you're
the
not
first
supposed-
Casino Royale was just a fake movie. It was a joke. Don't get me started on that. That's a different topic for a different day.
And-
There's
fact-
other things though. There's like how Roger Moore is like mourning the death of like a woman who was affiliated with a different Bond in a different movie, and then it's totally off.
No, for sure. There's no concrete timeline there.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm just saying, it is a lot of movies in a series.
The only way I'm embarrassingly behind on Bond film, but the only way that those are all like one sequential universe is if 007 is a title and James Bond is an
But that's why it
earned
doesn't
name.
work, because the different Bonds in Skyfall, his name is actually James Bond, and then in Her Majesty's Secret Service, that's where the tombstone scene happens, and it's like the Bond girl from a different movie from a different Bond.
Right. Yeah, no, they don't make any sense, for sure.
Nah, no sense.
I'm not trying
Do you
to
guys
pin that down.
Do you guys watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I've seen the first 2
I've seen
seasons.
sparse episodes here and there.
I've seen every episode. I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And what they're doing right now is great, because I can't spoil it, but like it gives them a way to let Infinity War do its thing, and it all totally makes sense somehow. That's all I'll say. Also, Lady Sif was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for like an episode.
Yeah.
Which is...
That was like early
Isn't that
on,
what she was
wasn't it?
doing during
Yeah,
this
first
movie?
season.
Or was it first season?
That's what I was wondering. It was the first season, so I wonder like if they're gonna explain where she's been.
Where she's been. Team Sif.
Yeah, Sif happens.
Where were you during the events of Ragnarok?
All your friends are dead. You're home too. And
Yeah.
is she supposed to marry Thor at this point? Are we going there with the comic stuff?
No,
I don't think so.
It's Thor and Valkyrie.
Friend zone.
Yeah.
But Valkyrie, I don't know. She's supposed to be bisexual, so I don't know if they would leave that for. I don't know.
I'm rewatching Arrow right now. I'm on season 2, and they just introduced Black Canary as being bisexual. So it's been done in
This context.
which was super cool. I had actually completely forgotten about it.
They shied
'cause
away
I-
from it in
again,
this movie.
Yeah,
Not
but
Arrow.
shout out to Tessa Thompson, though.
Just in general.
Yeah, no, I loved her performance. And if there was any character in this movie that was underutilized, I think it was Valkyrie.
I don't know, because she gets some of the best scenes. She has one of the best introduction scenes where she just shows up drunk and then like
falls off the
powers
ship.
on the guns and just wipes them all out. I mean, and she gets to be in that amazing sequence with like the art and the Metallica stuff and like putting Zack Snyder to shame.
Yeah, no,
it's not Sname.
What did? Oh yeah, the like Wonder Woman knockoff scene.
Knockoff.
Well, not knockoff, but like the mockery.
I don't remember that part in Wonder Woman where they have like wings and they're on horses that can fly and there's like a goddess of death.
You don't?
No. I do remember the Wonder Woman scene where they like lose to a bunch of dudes with like Guran 47s or whatever that gun is.
I know that was embarrassing. But no, when the Queen of Themyscira is explaining where the Amazons came from.
Oh yeah, and there's like that Deathly Shadows or Hallows sequence, kind of.
Yeah.
You're right. I forgot.
Yeah, and then this movie just is like, you know what? We can do that too. I see that you've made a very good film with Wonder Woman. Kudos. This one's better.
It came out so close apart. It's good timing.
No, I thought
that Wonder Woman movie was good though. I'll give him kudos.
I thought she did a great job with this part. She played the character just charismatically enough, but at the same time being completely unsure. It was a solid performance to make me believe that character.
I believed it when she was like, "I want to join your team. What's our name?" I was like, yeah.
Revenges.
Welcome to the team.
Oh man. No, I love the whole second act on Sakaar. The whole thing I thought was really where this movie shined.
I love everything on Sakaar.
Yeah,
I'll go there.
You would live in Sakaar?
No, but I love like watching it happen from the safety of my airplane seat.
Yeah.
Right.
From not Sakaar.
First class?
Yeah, economy.
Yeah. How do airplane seats work? How many classes are there?
It changes from plane to plane.
Depends on how big your plane is.
Yeah.
What am I like? If you were to run down, I think the ones I can think of are like economy. Is that the same as coach?
It's like a different
Okay,
type of coach. Yeah.
And then there's business.
There's lower
Is that the
class,
same?
lower middle class, and so on.
Okay.
Business
I just
first
don't know how
class.
planes work.
Yeah.
And how do planes fly? Like how do they?
There's magic that happens over an airfoil.
You'd have to watch the Wonder
Gotcha.
Woman sequence to get it.
Right.
I'm gonna lead you to a movie called Airplane! It'll tell you everything.
Hard science.
Yep, just absolute fact. The greatest documentary in history.
Yeah, they explained
that
autopilots in a way that'll just blow your mind.
I get blow
Oh my
your
goodness.
mind.
What were you working on that all night, or did that just happen?
That's what she said. I don't know what we're doing here. Like what, Thor?
Thor Ragnarok. You gotta understand that our two favorite topics on this podcast are the Marvel movie we're supposed to be talking about and
Airplane.
utter nonsense. So Thor Ragnarok. Where are we? We're on Sakaar.
We haven't talked about the villain at all in this movie so far. At
Hela?
all. We have
Hela's
skated
awesome.
over that one entirely.
She's hella awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's
So she's a child of Loki in the mythology.
Yeah. And they decided to make her Thor's sister because they thought that the confrontation between the two characters would be much more interesting, especially given the way that his relationship with Odin is written. It was actually, I think, Taika Waititi's call on, but no, actually, I'm wrong. Eric Pearson made that call, and Taika Waititi helped sell it to the studio because it was sort of a break from the comics and the source material and the actual Norse mythology.
So the comics mirrored to some extent the actual mythology.
That's a big stretch. No,
Well,
they
not
don't.
mirrored, but
like,
what is her
Yeah.
background in the comics?
She's related. She's not really related to the family in the comics,
Okay.
and I think her name in the comics is Hel.
That's
but
her.
I think
That's
in
her
Norse,
original name. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think she's as big of a presence compared to in this movie. They really make a big deal out of her being the goddess of death and all. And then
Right. Well, so yeah, from what I understood from the mythology, she's like a kind of Hades-like character in that she sees over all of the dead.
right. That all that stuff about her being like Odin's firstborn and like he sealed her away. That's all for the movie.
So that was
as
all,
far as
all-
I know.
Well, obviously it's all made up, but
Right, yeah. I'm not aware of any comic or any sort of storyline with her that has her being like the third sibling or being the first sibling, rather.
fair enough. Yeah, well, she was.
interesting. I thought that played so well because it gave her an heir, like a reasonable like claim to the
It
throne.
was Game of Thrones.
Well, and it's that great scene in the prison where Thor's in the prison and he's throwing rocks at Loki, and Loki is just talking about, how does it feel to not be what you think you are and to have everything turn on its head. And
yeah, I thought it made so much sense that she was the firstborn. Plus, it also just everything about this movie and her and the whole thing is just we're gonna explain why the first two Thor movies were garbage, and we're gonna tell you that we are going on a new path. Even the murals painted on the ceiling were wrong, and that was never something you really needed to worry about. So let's just materialize some swords and get rid of
well, and they destroy the hammer within minutes. Hell, it's in the trailer.
Yeah.
And that was just, and I granted, I had not seen a trailer for this movie before I watched it, actually.
Wow.
And I didn't, I
It's
don't
a great trailer.
I've seen it now, yeah, for sure. I'm not a huge fan of movie trailers, honestly.
I get that.
Weird.
Yeah, I get it.
If it's a movie I know I'm going to see anyway, I would rather not watch it. Because I feel like in recent years, they've just started to give too much away.
That's how I'm getting with a lot of these like Marvel movies now that we're more and more invested in them. And that's how I've always felt about Star Wars is like, just don't tell me anything.
Yeah.
Just let me see it and enjoy it.
I completely avoided trailers for The Force Awakens. Completely. I never saw one before the movie came out.
Those trailers did a good job, though, of like not really showing you anything or not making you assume anything incorrectly.
Oh, for sure. And there's a lot of misguiding that goes on in the trailers, and I think they're very well done, for sure. 100%.
I usually, what I do is
Force Awakens. I mean, the Last Jedi.
I always watch the first teaser and I'll watch the first trailer and I don't watch anything else. I never, ever, ever watch the second trailer. The second trailer is the studio's like, idiots, this is the movie that you have to be spoon-fed because it's the only way to get you in the stupid theater. Don't watch trailer 2. Trailer 2s are never a good idea.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is like, if it's a movie I know I'm going to see, like I knew I was going to see this movie simply because we were doing this podcast. I knew eventually I was going to have to watch it.
Cynical.
Well, I had never seen Dark World, so I wasn't like hot on it, and I was only sort of okay with the first Thor movie. I liked it, but it wasn't the greatest thing ever made. But I hadn't seen I missed Dark World completely.
And one of the big problems is, Ethan and I's cinematic journey it has always been pretty parallel. Like we've been going to movies together since we were, kids. And I remembered liking Dark World because of a variety of reasons. So I kept hyping up this movie and talking about like Dark World was great, man. You're gonna be so surprised. Like it's really gonna blow you away with how good it was. They really came a long way with that one without watching it again since theaters. And I was way off. I was wrong.
I was busy the day that Ty went and saw Thor: The Dark World. So it's like I just had other stuff going on after that. I never went and saw it again because there was nobody sitting there going, "Oh hey, let's go see it together." I was just like, I forgot it existed.
I'll give Thor: Dark World this. It has a good third act. The portal scene. Fight scene stuff was really cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
The mechanic of the fight when they're just zapping in and out of different...
Yeah, no,
that was sick. That was a really good part.
Just took a really long time to get to that.
Yeah, it was a lot of Darcy.
I love that I love that the fact they made her the firstborn was the best way to prove how strong she is. The fact that she can break the hammer, because otherwise that would have felt like really random. Like, how is she so powerful? But when you're like, oh, like the idea is that Odin is that powerful, and like they really give you a sense of like world building that make you like understand like why Thor can't just beat her in a simple
Odin's
brawl.
very existence has had her locked away in this prison of wherever she was. God only knows.
It's great because in the comics it's Loki who brings down Ragnarok. And I'm glad that they switched it around because, I don't know, I think Loki serves better as a supporting character than he does a villain at this point.
For sure, as this almost foil to Thor. Yeah. Without being just an absolute monster of a villain, yeah.
Well, yeah, I never really got the vibe that Loki was like as far as Thor's villains go, I never felt like him or, was it Malekith?
Yeah.
Could like toe-to-toe really fight him, punch and brawl win. Loki's whole thing was that he was like Hitler. He could influence people like nobody else.
Major Marvel villain, and then the first Avengers shows that like he's definitely like
he's definitely a force to be reckoned with.
But they really tone him down.
But I felt like they do. And then they bring in Hela, who is
just next level.
Well, she's got absolutely no influence over people whatsoever. Like people don't want to follow her. People are like, no, we will stand.
She has to raise an army from the dead.
Right. But she is unbelievably powerful and strong, and
That's why I'm not as convinced that Vision and Doctor Strange could beat her. If she can break Thor's hammer, I don't see her being like those little ring things containing her or anything.
With the sling ring?
Yeah, because I would assume that's why you think Strange could take her down, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
The sling ring is he's also can control time, right?
Yeah, he can. He could sacrifice himself as he intended to do with Dormammu, and
right. Like he can always do that now, right?
He has the Eye of Agamotto around his neck in this movie.
Yeah, he can always come to bargain.
Thanos?
Thanos?
Yeah.
I heard you say Thanos.
Thanos. Thanos, I've come to bargain.
Thanos, I've come to... Is it Thanos? Thanos?
Thanos. It's whatever you want.
Tomato.
What has he been doing?
He's doing it himself.
Why are they going to explain that? Like, are they going to explain like why he's
Why is
sort
this
of
taking
like,
you so long?
oh, I'm going to do this myself 2 years later?
Because time is weird.
Is he getting Infinity
he's gotta
Stones?
sit down.
What is...
No, he's not, because we've revealed them all.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. He's looking for him?
Because the Tesseract, the Ether, the
Thought Stone. No.
Black Panther should
Mind
have the
Stone.
Soul Stone. I think that's what
Soul
they're going to
Stone
go
and
after
then,
in Infinity War.
Yeah. So there's the Mind Stone in.
and Black Panther, I thought.
Gosh, I feel like I'm playing
Anyway,
Dungeons
what?
and Dragons over here.
Yeah, I have no clue. I've been having trouble keeping up with the Infinity Stone thing since they introduced it in the first place, and I've been
Yeah,
watching
no.
one of
Well,
these a
and-
week.
Well, and then they came in. Yeah, I know, right? Like we've been watching them every single week, and it's like I'm still lost.
Who's what?
And
got
this
what?
isn't even that complicated.
Is the Collector alive? Who's alive?
The Collector?
Howard the Duck's alive.
The Collector could be alive. Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
we're assuming he doesn't have the whatever it is anymore. Whatever the purple one was.
The Mind
No,
Stone?
not the Mind Stone. That's the yellow one.
Oh, the Power Stone is on
The Nova Corps have
Xandar.
it, don't they?
Nova Corps have it. Yeah.
Yeah, they have it on Xandar.
Which is why I'm wondering, like, why doesn't Thanos get it?
It could be the first scene of Infinity War. Is him just.
Hopefully he's not
I have a-
Beetlejuice
I-
and you just have to say his name 3 times.
If I said
That
Thanos
would suck,
3
dude.
times and Josh Brolin showed up in my apartment, I don't know how I'd feel about that.
Yeah, I was like, where are you going with this?
Hello, Josh.
Hey, can we talk about Men in Black 3 for a second?
Jonah Hex? When's the sequel coming out?
Yeah, can you just make No Country for Old Men forever, please? Thank you.
You know he dies in that movie, so...
Yeah, well, that's okay. They can resurrect him. They have the Time Stone.
Okay.
We can also just.
Baby Groot just fell off my desk.
That's unfortunate. But yeah, no, she and you can't say enough about Cate Blanchett's performance in this because there wasn't for most of the movie she wasn't really a part of it.
So this movie to me does what a lot of people don't think is like possible. Right? Like a lot of people will say even the best movies only have so many skill points to distribute and will fall short in some aspects. I feel like this movie had more skill points to distribute in the RPG version of making a film way. Like if you were creating a character on Madden, this movie's just plain better than the characters that are already programmed into the game. You know what I'm saying?
Kind of.
Yeah, not
Like, I think
sort
you're
of.
saying that, like, the fact that it's a franchise, it's got so much, the fact that, like, so much about these characters, you have so much room to do more things and to try and be a lot of different things because you don't have to set up everything. It doesn't have to be an origin story. It can just sort of be like this space movie, then it's this fantasy movie, then it's this comedy all at
No,
the
it's
same
a
time.
zombie movie.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, this movie is a quarterback that can punt, and plays a great strong safety. Are these football references lost?
Well, at
on
the same
me?
time, it's not a heavy dramatic film. It's got a couple of scenes where Thor gets a little sparky boom man, but they're not like I don't know. They're used like just a light touch, just a little zap of drama.
What did you think of Sparky Boom Man?
They killed him off too early, but I'm glad that they brought him back in Legend of Korra through Plea because I just think that was a great character. Great death sequence for sure. Spoilers for Legend of Korra season 3.
Who is Sparky Boom Man?
I was under the impression that Sparky Boom Man was Thor when he's got the glowy eyes.
No. Sparky Boom Man is a character from the acclaimed television children's animated series Avatar: The Last Airbender. He was introduced
I'm familiar with it.
introduced in season 3, hired by Zuko to assassinate the Avatar, murdered by Sokka's boomerang.
Is that actually his name?
Yeah, they don't know what to call him when they run into him for the first time, and they're like, "What do we call him?" And then Sokka casually, sarcastically says, "Sparky Boom Man" or something like that.
Wow, I have no idea.
Brilliant writing. I understand why so many people love that show so
Oh,
much.
because it's a treasure. But in this movie, Sparky Boom
wasn't
Man
bad.
is like,
I owned
yeah,
the
when
whole thing for a
yeah.
while there.
Did you sell it? Why would you do that?
No, I have this problem where about every decade, maybe not even decade, but every 7 years, iTunes just likes to tell me that everything I've ever purchased is no longer part of their database. And
Yeah,
just-
every decade might be a
resets
strong
my
word
whole
for you
library.
using iTunes.
Yeah, it's how many decades have you?
Yeah.
This
Fun
happened to me in
fact, Tyler had
Screw
iTunes back in the 80s.
This sort of thing happened to me, but with Scrubs DVDs, because I used to have all those seasons. Not anymore.
Did you just
Now
let them
Now
out
they're not
and they
even on
never came back to you?
Netflix. Yeah, I don't know. Elves stealing them. I don't know what happened. I've got like disc 2 of season 3. If you're ready to party, like I don't,
What episodes
You
are
don't know
those?
how ready to party I am.
it's a real party trick. I'll tell you that.
The middle
Real
of season 3 of
swerve
Scrubs.
for the ladies. Yeah, they're like, well, I was really looking forward to season 4, disc 3, John.
Oh Oh man, what is on disc 2?
Season 3? I don't even know what was going
Oh
on.
yeah, Elliot gets like this really rad haircut or something. I don't.
That's like the end of season 1, I thought.
That happens several times.
No, it's My American Girl, episode 1 of season 3. Elliot cuts her hair and she takes on a new personality because she was a pushover in season 2. So by the time you get to disc 2, she's in a relationship with Sean.
So she had a retcon.
Yes.
Well, she had a makeover. I don't. She didn't change everything about herself. She's still sleeping with JD once a season. Ew.
That's the show.
Yeah.
They were like, hey, Ross and Rachel can do it.
Is retcon short for something?
Probably. It's like it's short for continuity. I think you're returning continuity. There's something. It's a good question.
I had never knew there was a word for that concept.
I never knew that.
I never knew that before.
But I also definitely, I don't know if I could have used it in a sentence, but I did know the word retcon. Like, that wasn't like
Yeah.
That just sounds like something out of Fallout to me.
Spider-Man's done it a lot. Those comics. One of the most famous retcons was when Superboy literally punched a hole in the universe, and it just literally changed everything in DC Comics.
that's my problem with comic
They're
books.
weird.
It's like, they just, whatever.
Another retcon is famously a retcon in cinematic storytelling is X-Men: Days of Future Past. That would count as a same kind of idea because they literally were just like, okay, our timelines make no sense, so we're just going to create this plot-heavy reason for like everything to just be reset.
Man, I saw X-Men Days of Future Past while I was like taking my probably most intensive like film studies course in college, and I remember like going into it being like, this movie's probably gonna suck, because I was all about like wicked great art films at the time, and it just did not disappoint. It was super good.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Apocalypse.
I didn't see that one. I decided, you know what, this one was good, I'm just gonna leave it here, and we're just gonna
Let's not take a risk at fate.
right. That sounds like it could be bad, although I did see Thor Ragnarok many years later, but
I don't know if it was many years.
it feels like many years. I don't know.
It came out 2014, so 3 years.
Was Days of Future Past really 2014?
3 years and some change. Yeah, May 2014.
Feels like
so
a lot more recently than that.
No. Oh, wait. That's Days of Future Past. Apocalypse came out.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay. That's 2016.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Days of Future Past was May of 2014, because that was Maymester, Ethan. That was when I was taking Philosophy 340.
Oh, yeah, your philosophy and film class?
Yeah.
Oh, we watched Matrix in that class.
We watched, we did not watch Matrix. We watched Melancholia, Blue
Oh, it's
Valentine.
much better movies.
So I take it you're
Right.
not in the group of people that rates movies on IMDb that has decided Matrix is a top 20 movie of all time?
Oh, absolutely. I really like The Matrix. It's a great film. It was very formative for me. And but Blue Valentine and Melancholia are just, those are just, they're much better philosophy films. I'll put it that way.
We watched, is it The Cube? What's the one
The
where
Fountain.
we did watch The Fountain. We watched a minimalist horror movie where they go from like cube to cube trying to escape.
Cube to cube.
No idea.
And there's like a different booby trap in all of them.
Oh, it's like
Fair film,
Saw?
yeah.
Like, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
It's like Saw, but it's not Saw. It was before Saw. It's really campy. I remember.
Are you
not
talking about
liking
Cabin in the Woods?
Oh,
Nope,
what a
nope.
movie.
It is like,
Oh, I know, right?
it's like a sci-fi thriller.
Oh. You know what's not better than it? Thor Ragnarok.
Thor Ragnarok is awesome. It is Cube. It's called Cube.
All right, listeners,
I've
go
never
check
seen
out
it.
Cube and tell us what you think.
You know what I think about Thor Ragnarok?
What do you think about it?
Idris Elba as Heimdall. Who'd have thought?
Here was my thing about Heimdall is, if you're gonna kill everybody else, you can kill Heimdall too.
What? But
Nah.
it's Idris Elba in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You
Nah,
gotta,
he's
you gotta
cool.
have you have to have like the like wise, character on the refugee ship.
He's the man in the chair.
Oh yeah,
Like
He
he's
sees everything.
Thor's man in the chair. So he can
He's
see
gonna
everything.
team up with Ned in a future Thor Spider-Man movie. I could totally see that
I would love a Thor Spider-Man movie. Those characters would play so well off each other.
because they haven't met yet. He wasn't
No.
at a Civil War.
Yeah, he was not a Civil War.
Whose side do you think Thor would have been on?
Thor said he called Iron Man in he called both of them, or emailed both of them, trying to make his own team.
Are you talking about Team Thor?
Team Thor.
Team Thor's
Yeah,
not
The
canon.
Revenge-
Have you seen
Avengers?
Team Thor is only sort of required to not be canon based on what happened afterwards, but he does mention Team Thor in Ragnarok.
The Revengers.
He talks, no, not the Revengers. He talks about when he's talking to Doctor Strange.
Oh.
He says that I sent them an email, or he says send
Could
me
have sent an email.
Like,
It's an electronic
Oh, that's another.
message.
Why?
yeah, that's
You have a computer? No, of course not. What for?
computer.
That's a great laugh out
I
loud.
find it so interesting that the minimal changes they made to that scene for this movie.
I just think Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange is underrated as one of the greatest heroes because he was undercut by a film that could have been so much better.
Yeah.
But I
that
think
movie,
he's so well cast.
But
I
it's
like
just-
Doctor Strange.
It's so
but
strange
yeah.
that they reincorporated the post-credit scene from Doctor Strange into this movie and just made very small dialogue changes and redid the animation for the beer filling.
So I haven't even seen that entire scene since I saw Doctor Strange, so I don't remember what's different.
Well, I watched it 2 weeks ago, and the beer fills just from the bottom, straight up without swirling in the original movie, in the original scene, and the lines are just a little bit different.
But isn't the idea that it's Thor's perspective in Thor, so it's happening quickly for him because he doesn't control time?
No, it's not the whole scene, it's just the one scene where they're sitting there in the chair.
Where he's filling the beer up for him.
Yeah.
It was the post-credits scene in Doctor
So
Strange.
it starts with the
I'm with you.
so all involved parties would come back to, or go back to Asgard, and he talks about all that. And it doesn't go with the rest of the scene where, with all the flipping around space.
So what we're saying is Thor would not have picked a team. He would have had his own team with Hulk and Tessa Thompson.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's a great question.
Because I know Banner would
I
be
think-
sympathetic. Banner's a tougher one because he's sympathetic to Tony and Black Widow. But he's also the kind of person who wants to be off the grid.
Hawkeye fought Black Widow.
You're right.
Sort of.
She changed sides too. She pulled the Spider-Man.
I think Loki would have been Team Iron Man because I think Loki would have been like, yes, putting them in check is a great idea, right?
Because he knew he could get
That's-
himself out.
Brilliant. Right. So I think he would have been Team Iron Man. So I think Thor would. I still don't know that he wouldn't side with Loki.
I
love that
don't
when
think
Loki
Thor
sees
would have
Hulk in
been
this-
Team Send Me to Jail.
Oh, well, that wouldn't have happened. Also, I love when Loki sees Hulk in this movie,
And-
and you see the flashback in his eyes of when he was getting pounded. That came out wrong.
Puny God. Puny God.
Oh man. Oh, they just the scene where he stands up and screams. That's what that feels like. Oh,
I think what they did there was they were like, let's take the funniest moment in Hulk history. Oh, look, it already has to do with Loki and Thor. Let's just copy it. I loved it. Loved the whole thing.
that whole gladiator scene was clutch.
Was awesome.
I loved all the interactions between Thor and Teen Hulk.
And Banner,
And-
equally good.
I thought
And Banner
Banner
for
was-
sure, but the banner I expected because he's a proper human being. But I love the way Thor was, and to some extent also Valkyrie were able to connect with Hulk like he was a real person.
Yeah, and the way that Hulk just wanted a friend.
Right,
Like,
he just
wouldn't
wants
let
to
Thor
be
lead. It
treated
was
like a
adorable.
person.
Yeah, but then when one of my funniest moments in the film is when he's like, "You don't even have to think about Hulk," and Banner walks out, and literally someone blows the green powder into his face.
Yeah.
That's all it takes for me to laugh.
Oh yeah, it's just a great,
And then there's just Hulk stuff everywhere.
beating you over the head with
everywhere.
irony moment.
Ironic.
Maybe not irony. I don't know if that's the right word. It's some sort of irony.
It's
I don't
Iron
know.
Man.
Iron Man. God, they tried to put Iron Man in this movie. I'm still trying to come down on where I think Thor would have fought.
Do you think he would have just stayed out of it?
I don't know. I feel like I said, I feel
did
like he
stay
would
out
be
of it.
Team Cap, honestly, because he's shown very much throughout the movies that he doesn't like being locked up or tied down.
But I mean, he's also somebody who is subservient to his dad, so he's kind of. I think he responds to authority.
Yeah, I don't think he gives a crap about the Midgard authority.
But that's the thing is
I don't think he would have been too hot on Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah, I guess.
But I mean, you make a very valid point.
There is that scene in Thor where he's really against Shield, trying to get his hammer.
Well, nobody can get his hammer except Hello, apparently.
Vision.
And he doesn't even need it.
Vision can't.
Yeah, it was just a way to channel
Thor-
his power.
Can
Obviously,
Thor grab an Infinity Stone?
Probably.
but for how long?
Well, Peter Quill was a Celestial, and he about exploded when he grabbed
But he was only half Celestial, remember? And in Volume 2, our favorite movie, he was. It was revealed that even Ego needed his help to have his full power. So
Right, but Thor is not of the Midgard realm.
that's true.
Yeah, he's not.
murky.
He's not half Terran either. Here's my problem. Okay, let me just. I briefly heard that you liked Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 because it had stakes and because it changed things. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Okay, no, it didn't, because now all it did was set us up so that in the future they can just be like, oh, Peter Quill is still a Celestial and his dad dying didn't take those powers away from him.
No, his powers are gone. He's not Celestial anymore.
Nope.
I think I'm with John. I think they'll stick with that.
Yeah, I don't see why
no.
they would, why.
It'll come in handy one time that he needs to use his heart and he doesn't have, what's necessary to destroy everybody or needs to...
Nah, I mean, they went through the whole first Guardians without really needing him to be a Celestial until the very end, so I'm pretty sure his character so
Grabbed an
works.
Infinity
But they can
Stone.
also just
Yeah.
make the point that Peter's heart is strong enough, as they clearly did at the end of Guardians 2, and they're like, he can out-heart Ego.
With his Zune at his side.
With his Zune. Oh, God.
All those Avril Lavigne songs on there.
Oh, I can't wait
Is
for
that
that
what you heard
part
on yours, Zoon?
Yeah.
of like Peter Quill meets the mid 2000s.
Volume 3 starts
Oh my
with
gosh.
Girlfriend and then goes into Complicated. I agreed with you guys when you said that the soundtrack for Volume 2. I'm a bigger fan of Volume 2 soundtrack over the first one.
I am too.
I think that was you, Ethan, who
It
liked
was.
it. Yeah.
It was me.
Well, I'll put my 2 cents in on that. What I said was, I think as somebody who didn't really know the music from either of them, watching them, I thought it fit better in Volume 1. But just listening to the albums, I do like the songs from 2.
There's
better.
no
it's
Cherry
got
Bomb in
Lakeshore.
Volume 2.
Yeah, that's not a great song. Lakeshore Drive. Oh, My Sweet Lord.
The use of Cat Stevens.
I think the thing that bugged me in Volume 2 about his music was that, like, in the first one, you get the idea that cassette is the only copy of it, right? But then in the second one, his music's just everywhere. Everybody's got copies of it. They're like, hey, Yondu's shipmates, do you have any of those Peter Quill songs anymore? You got those bad boys lying around? And they do.
The only issue I have with Awesome Mix Volume 1 and 2 is that Ain't No Mountain High Enough by Marvin Gaye should have been on Volume 2, not Volume 1.
Why do you say
Because
that?
he put the tape in and started playing it, but it's on Volume 1 instead of Volume 2. When he gets the second tape.
Okay. I understand what you're saying.
Oh, I see.
Separate from the movies.
Right,
Because they don't even
exactly.
play in the same order. And also, Ain't a Mountain High Enough wouldn't have really worked with Volume 2, because Volume 2 is, like I said before, I mean, it's the deeper cuts, you know? Some of the songs that you kind of know what they are, but they're not quite
For
as
sure, but it's
recognizable.
it's a stickler, like CinemaSins type continuity thing that bugged me a little bit. And I'm being very pedantic about it, and I can't believe I didn't mention this when we did Guardians, but I just kind of thought about it right now. Is like, he puts the tape in very clearly into the first movie, and it starts playing Ain't No Mountain High Enough. But it wouldn't have made sense on the album.
Cinema.
Where on the cassette player did this movie touch you?
I'm not going to lie to you.
I need a second.
Well, while he's taking that second, John, what do you think of CinemaSins? Because on one hand, I hate them because too many people are like, you know what, these people have just ruined all these movies and now I hate these movies. But then on the other end, I'm like, well, these are really entertaining videos. Where do you fall on this spectrum?
Tyler, I'm so glad you asked me that question. On the one hand, I really, really hate CinemaSins. And that's it.
That's actually both
Yeah.
hands. So.
I remember, what was his name? The guy who directed Kong Skull Island. He summed it up so great. I just think what they do isn't valid. It's just, and I think all of the excuses to be like, it's just a joke. It's like such a cop out. It's like, well, then make good jokes.
Right,
Like,
there's a goof section on IMDb trivia for that reason.
Yeah. It's like it's not useful. It's if people find it entertaining, power to them. I hate that it turns people into like knee-jerk armchair fake critics who like judge a movie's quality by things that just absolutely have nothing to do with what makes a film good. And especially because a lot of the time CinemaSins is completely inaccurate. I did a snarkasm once. For those of you who don't know, I do a column once in a while called Snarkasm, where I take things that people write on the internet or make videos of, and I go to town. And I did it with CinemaSins video once for The Good Dinosaur. That was an experience.
I'm really hoping we never end up on this column now.
No, I would love that.
Their take on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was...
I think I snarkasm something John and Ben made once, maybe? Actually, no, I didn't, because it was actually pretty solid, so yeah, you're good. But you wait. I'm going to get the transcript for that Guardians too.
But no, yeah, no, CinemaSins, and you can make the same argument about almost anything, that any of these things that is a kind of medium that tells you how to feel about a movie, is that people make the same argument about Rotten Tomatoes, about Ebert and Roper and Ebert and whoever his new, or Roper and, which one's still alive?
Ebert's
dead.
dead.
So it's
Ebert's dead
Roper
and Siskel.
Siskel, yeah. And,
Siskel's dead. Are you talking about Richard Roper from the Chicago Sun-Times?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, he's good.
Yeah, so...
He had a bit of a social media scandal, actually, recently. Yeah, a lot of fake Twitter followers.
For sure. But it's any of those things, people have made this argument about any critics that are kind of telling you how to feel about a movie and that like it takes you out of something and you should really just develop your own opinion on the movie. But I think CinemaSins out of that is the worst of them, because just there's no positive conversation that happens from it.
Yeah, it's just... It sums up like all of the bad ways to review a movie. Like I because I write reviews so much and I read so many reviews, and because I do podcasts all the time, I have certain like trigger words. Like when somebody says, and some of it's like dumb, but sometimes when somebody is just like, I had a lot of fun with this movie, it's like nails on a chalkboard. Or like, the performances were great. He's great in this movie. Or when people personify a movie, like the movie's trying to do, and I'm like, stuff like that really gets on my nerves. And what CinemaSins does is it takes that terminology and it applies it in the lowest common denominator kind of way, and that's what makes me hate them. Not them personally, although I read Jeremy's.
CinemaSins is like the.
I was gonna say I read Jeremy's book, and it's terrible.
That's not where I thought that sentence was going.
I don't hate them personally. I just don't. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, I could go on for hours about how much I dislike CinemaSins and the conversation that it brings about movies, but we're just making things worse at that point.
I'll tell you what. I have found it very easy to not care about CinemaSins. Like, I don't see their videos, and I don't really know anyone who watches them, so I'm good. I don't think about them anymore. I promise. It's like a bad breakup or something.
Did you used to work for them? Is that what it is?
We'll talk about it. I do know one of them. Do you guys know Bobby Burns, right? Like know him?
I know. Okay,
certainly. He's affiliated with CinemaSins in some way. Anyway, this is Thor Ragnarok.
Great film.
Let's start getting some final thoughts.
Okay. Ethan, what are your final thoughts?
Somebody else go first.
John.
Yeah.
What are your
takeaways?
My takeaways. It's my number 2 Marvel film because I think what tends to get overlooked with this one is the writing is just so complete. It from beginning to end, everything in this movie has basically a purpose. There are a couple of things that do hang out. The Scourge isn't quite as neatly tied up, but I really think the movie's rewatchability lies in how strong the script is, and that it's just so it's strangely a standalone Marvel film. You don't really have to watch the other Thor movies, and you do kind of have to be involved in this universe to get it. But I think what you were saying before, Tyler, the way that it uses all of those skill points for good goes a long way. And I think if you view the movie as a standalone, yeah, it's not the best standalone Marvel film. That's going to be Iron Man. But if you're looking at this movie purely from it doing the best job that it can and everything that it really goes for, which is the comedy, which is the visual effects, which is the just the basic the likability of the characters. I mean, you're taking a character like Thor, who is barely likable in Thor: The Dark World. He kind of hangs out in the Avengers films. He doesn't really have a big role in those movies. This is the movie that defined him and made him a breakout character. And that's just man, I'm so happy with it. I'm so happy that this movie was as good as it was. It even took Hulk, a character that I never really thought was going to get his due in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It definitely not get another movie, let alone Planet Hulk. And it deepened everything. It deepened Hulk and Thor and even Loki to an extent. And yeah, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful little movie.
It definitely breathed new life into two characters that desperately needed it. And that is obviously Thor and Hulk, because they were by far the redheaded stepchildren of the MCU so far. It's especially since we've been introduced to all these new characters, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Scarlet Witch, Falcon, Black Panther, so many characters that are just immediately likable, that and these guys weren't even in Civil War to give themselves any kind of redemption there. So it was just kind of out of left field for me, honestly. I wasn't expecting to love this movie anywhere near as much as I did, or really even at all. Because I had heard nothing but bad things about Dark World, and because I hadn't seen it when I watched this movie, and so I wasn't particularly excited. I didn't really watch any of the trailers, and then just from the get-go, from the first 2 minutes, I was into it, and it just never stopped.
Well, and to even build on that, we were talking about it right at the beginning. John, you were talking about, I can't believe that a Thor movie got the same Rotten Tomatoes scores as a Spider-Man movie in the same year. I mean, that's unbelievable, considering that Spider-Man's had its share of flops, but also its share of successes, more successes than flops, really. And the fact that Thor has had two, Thor 1 was definitely the weakest, well, maybe not the weakest if you include the Incredible Hulk, but the weakest of the flagship characters who got sequels. And then Thor: The Dark World couldn't even compete with Iron Man 2, and definitely not with The Winter Soldier. And then we come here and you get what is arguably the best film in the whole MCU, which is definitely better than its Part 3 rivals.
Yeah, by far the best movie so far in Phase 3.
Yeah, I buy that. It's funny because I ended the year really thinking Spider-Man Homecoming was my favorite superhero movie of 2017. And after seeing it a second time, no, it's Thor Ragnarok all the way.
Well, and even still, like, Thor Ragnarok is hilarious, and so is Spider-Man Homecoming, but I feel like the stakes of Thor Ragnarok are going to do more for the MCU than Peter Parker fighting Vulture. And I think it's, it's a great story, and it's a fun story, and it's important to tell. And his relationship with Tony, I guess, is really where the bulk of the matter from that film is going to carry on. But I don't know, I feel like Thor Ragnarok did a whole lot for the whole superhero genre that is just going to, it started with Iron Man defining what a good formulaic superhero movie can be, and then that went on for a while and it kind of got stale, and then Guardians came out and was like, you can make these funny and fun but also action packed and high stakes, and then that went on for a while, and I feel like this movie really perfected the Guardians formula, and it took the superhero formula, the Iron Man formula, and improved upon it, and I think that this is quintessentially the best one we've gotten so far. But I also say that under the belief that Black Panther could be way better.
Yeah, I'll say Thor Ragnarok is just more clever than I think a lot of the other MCU films, especially Spider-Man if we're comparing them. But like, I think that movie and Guardians, the reason they're at the top of my list is because of the writing and the story. So for both of those are just so good that I think the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films are kind of just a little bit below that or more. Yeah. But Black Panther, I'll let you know on Tuesday.
And I mean, you just can't underestimate the impact that Guardians has had on the whole series post Guardians.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, that movie was a smash hit. Out of nowhere in August.
It's just done so much good for the series, for the writing, for the whole outlook, because it was very bleak before that. And we've talked about this numerous times on the podcast.
Marvel was going through the...
I mean, to be fair, the first Avengers was very quippy. That's the one with Galaga.
But you got to remember. But you got to remember, after Avengers was like 3 just emo films.
That's true. Yeah,
The Dark World, and then Winter Soldier.
PTSD, Thor: The Dark World, and Winter Soldier was good.
Iron Man 3 had a little bit more life because it was Shane Black and he was having fun with it. But yeah, it was a little bit darker, sure.
Oh, for sure.
It was PTSD, Tony.
Yeah.
And it was just, but if we continued down that shame spiral of just these increasingly more heavy and depressing movies without any kind of real comedic get-go to it, it would have been a whole different place.
Well, yeah, I think what Guardians does so well is it tells Marvel and it tells the world, in order to make an excellent superhero movie, you don't have to make The Dark Knight. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't have to be ultra high stakes and serious. It can be that good and be fun and funny and a comic.
Well, and it's like you can, after Guardians of the Galaxy, you can let Ant-Man be funny. He can be silly. He can be the humorous character that he is. You can let Stephen Strange be kind of a and get away with it. You can allow Spider-Man to just be Spider-Man.
Right. Your superheroes don't have to be altruistic. They can be human.
Makes me wonder what Black Panther is going to be. Is it going to be funny? I mean, or is it going to be a bit more of its own thing?
Do you think Black Panther is going to be their most recent attempt at The Dark Knight?
I honestly
can't tell
from the trailer. Like they're not letting really anything go.
It just kind of looks really good. I don't know how else to describe it. The way that the music, the visuals, and the dialogue all swell together, it just feels like a movie that is just perfectly timed from what we've seen.
Well, and they've got just such a solid performance from, what is his name?
Chadwick Boseman or Michael B. Jordan?
No, God, no. I'm scared for Michael B. Jordan. I really am. I'm not a Michael B. Jordan fan.
You didn't like Creed or Fruitvale Station?
I've not gotten to see Fruitvale Station. I heard it was very good.
It is.
It is. I wasn't all that impressed with Creed, honestly. I liked it, but it just wasn't. It wasn't. I don't necessarily know if he added anything to the movie that couldn't have been given by somebody else. I don't think he was the best player for the part.
You made me literally gasp. We'll leave it at that.
Fair enough. And I mean, let us not forget Fantastic Four, the last time he appeared in a Marvel movie. Fox.
And I don't know, he's far from the worst thing in Fantastic Four.
No, for sure, but...
He's the only movie I've seen him in where he was one of the weakest aspects was probably that awkward moment. That's all I can think of.
I have not seen that movie.
And that's a movie where he's in with like Zac Efron and Miles Teller. And I
do love Miles Teller.
Yeah, I do love me some Miles Teller.
Ah, man.
And Zac Efron, for that matter.
I feel like you don't like Miles Teller.
I don't dislike him. I actually was a fan. I liked Only the Brave a lot. We're talking about our man Josh Brolin again.
Fair enough. I just loved Whiplash.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Whiplash was my favorite movie of 2014. But sometimes he's in movies that I just don't understand. Like, why him?
He's honestly, like, to me, he's like the new Josh Hutcherson.
Ooh, that's a pretty mean thing to say to anybody.
Right, but there was this period of time where he was kind of in everything.
Kind of, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Miles Teller has way more cinematic clout than Hutcherson, though. Because, like, Hutcherson was always, like, a supporting character. I can't think of a lot of movies where he was a leading man, whereas Miles Teller is, like, I mean, post-Divergent and post-Whiplash, they really stick him into stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Like, he's usually the leading.
For sure.
I don't know what a good example. I don't know what a good parallel for him.
Love him in the Divergent movies. I loved those. I haven't read the books. I have not read the books.
I'm in pain.
Don't crucify me yet, because I have not read the books.
The first Divergent is passable, but my gosh, those other movies are so bad.
Oh yeah, no, they're not good. I just enjoyed them.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not like I'm not defending them. They were fun. I enjoyed watching them. I almost said I had fun with them, but then I remembered that that's your thing.
Yeah, watch out.
But no, they're just a good romp through some. I love post-apocalyptic kind of stuff like that a lot. So
yeah, I like Maze Runner. Like that's fine.
I've not seen any of the Maze Runner movies. Are they worth it?
Yeah, sure. I guess the first one is they're not bad. It's just like the time to appreciate them is long past. So like maybe in a weird time capsule way, like let's go back to 2012 when Hunger Games was like the thing, which is weird because Maze Runner came out in like 2014.
I don't want to talk about Hunger Games. I don't. I can't. It's not a good conversation place for me.
Really?
Yeah. We can have that conversation later on if you're interested in my thoughts on the Hunger Games. And you can tell me how wrong I am, but I'm standing by it.
Okay. You know what? I'm withholding all judgment because I don't really know. I don't really know how I feel about Hunger Games sometimes.
I go back and forth on that as well because
no,
I really liked the first book, but I really liked the last movies.
The only movie that I thought was legitimately really good was the second one.
Thank you.
I thought the first one wasn't very good. I thought it was kind of boring, and the third one and fourth one I thought were very, very weak. But the second movie, I was really, really.
I 100% agree because the second book to me was reprehensible.
Wow, I never read the books. I actually that's false. I read Mockingjay because I really that's how much I love the second movie. I was like, I can't wait.
So the second book was literally just a retelling of the first book.
They all should have been that.
The movie had to stretch a lot to make it.
The games was the fun part.
The movie had to stretch a lot to make it better, and not just a straight up ripoff. But
what are you doing, Suzanne Collins? What are you doing?
Not using very good grammar.
I don't think she was planning for any of that.
Nah.
I think she was like, oh, I'm just gonna write some books, sell some copies, do stuff like that. Maybe a book tour here, a book tour there. Boom.
It's no Killer Joy. I planned all that crap.
How many words is Killer Joy?
131,000.
I was about to say. I feel like it's one of those that just has an astounding number of words.
Yeah, I have it in my hands right here. It's a thicken.
Is it
468 pages?
There you go.
I'm gonna lie to you, John. If there's not an audiobook of that, it's gonna be hard to get me to sit down with.
I don't expect you to.
I'm actually very interested
would
now.
like
I'm probably
to.
going to pick up a copy here shortly.
I've been practicing because so the plan is that I'm going to do the narration. And doing narration for an Audible book is really, really challenging. Like, it's a lot harder than you'd think.
Oh, no, I can definitely imagine exactly how hard... Well, not exactly, but I can imagine how hard it is.
The hardest thing about it is
I
remembering the voices that you're doing for each individual character is so hard.
I believe that this will be more of a challenge for you than when people would say things like, marching band is super duper hard. It's like a super involved activity.
I never did marching band.
And as somebody who did marching band, no, it's not. At the end of the day, you are walking around a football field here on this high school.
But I mean, even when professional narrator Roy Dotrice, who read all the Game of Thrones books, is talking about how ungodly difficult it is.
Oh, I can't.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely believe this.
Because like what he does, I've listened to those audibles. The way that he does Game of Thrones, I mean, that guy he's perfect. The perfect voice. I don't understand how he has to have color coded notes because that's the only way that you're able to balance all of those different characters. And like, I think he color codes them by like type of voice affect. And he just fits people into those categories, and that's how he does it.
He was also like 75 when he read the first one.
Oh my gosh, he's got some pipes for his age.
Oh my god, it's a work of art.
I'll tell you what though, when you get into a groove, like it's really hard to do, but there are times when I'm doing it and like I lose myself in it, and like I just flies. So it's not all difficult, I guess.
So are you like actively recording the Killer Joy audiobook, or is it just a kind of trial thing right now?
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Okay.
Seriously.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm pretty slammed with trying to get this cover design up. And like, yeah, it's something.
Fair enough. Well, we got a little sidetracked there at the end, but let's do a little wrap up real quick.
Cool. So we've done our final thoughts. I guess what's next before rankings is a breakfast food. John, I'm sure you came prepared. What breakfast food do you give to Thor Ragnarok?
Okay. I eat the same thing for breakfast every day. But
I mean, you're familiar with other
I am familiar with other breakfasts. I'm gonna give Thor Ragnarok the best breakfast I had while I was in Toronto, which was a raspberry crepe with Old English cream because of Thor's accent, and because you know why? It was sweet in the middle. It was tangy. It had me laughing a little bit, like raspberries do, and it just made me feel really good and warm inside. And that's what Thor Ragnarok did for me. Also, it was very colorful, like a raspberry crepe.
I appreciate that review. It also reminds me that I need to write my own solo acoustic guitar album titled "The Best Breakfast I Had in Toronto."
That definitely sounds like a song by the Mountain Goats.
Yeah, you're gonna plagiarize your own Instagram handle.
Right.
Oh man, yeah. I'm gonna actually. I'm just gonna let that stick.
I'll give you that one. Yeah,
I'm totally cool with that. Mostly for the line that it made me laugh. Like raspberries do.
No. Ethan, we're gonna now we've got to do our ranking. Whenever John puts it as number 2 behind Guardians of the Galaxy, of course we don't have that same luxury with Guardians of the Galaxy at number 1. I think really the question, usually we start from the bottom, but we know that this is going to be a top 5 film, so we'll just start at the top. Ethan, is it better than Iron Man?
Yes, it's better than Iron Man.
It is. Yeah. So that finishes that. New leader on the leaderboard. I didn't know that we'd ever see this day because when we started this, this movie had not come out.
I mean, to the wire too, right? Like you're on number 17.
Yeah,
we've probably placed Iron Man too high. I will be willing to admit that.
Yeah, but it is like when you're going along and you put him toe to toe, it's tough to say.
I enjoyed this better than Iron Man. I thought, but that's where we stand.
How do you compare? I mean, do you remember seeing Iron Man in the theater? I mean, that was such a cool experience, and like it was so new in a year where we also got Dark Knight, and it still felt so like exciting. I don't know.
Yeah, they just felt like such a different thing. Like they weren't comparable in any way whatsoever. Like short of the fact that they are both about superheroes, the similarities kind of end there because one is like not stereotypical, but it is what we've come to know as the new standard for superhero movie, and the other is just a completely noir, different kind of take on what a superhero movie could be. So they weren't. I don't think they were personally correct, but it was a great year for superhero movies. Let's just say that.
2008 was quite the year.
Yeah, I got my learner's permit that year. No, I didn't. Nope, I turned 15 at the end of that year.
I pulled it.
No, I got my learner's permit. I got turned 16.
I was gonna say
that was my first year of college. I had too much fun.
Oh, so you're not older than us.
What?
Yes.
I mean, you are, but like by 2 years.
Yeah. How much older do you think I was?
More than 2 years. That is more than 2 years, Tyler. We started college in 2011.
Whatever.
So
okay,
3 years.
3 years.
Well, no, because
I
started college when I was 16 or 17. No, 17. Yeah.
What year were you born?
90.
90. So 2 years for me. 3 years for you. I don't know. I feel like I remember finding the Pixar theory when I was very young. How old were you when you wrote that?
22.
Okay, that
so you were 19
because I was in college.
Yeah, 19.
I was like fresh out of. It was like a year after I got out of college. So there you go.
How would you say the Pixar theory has changed your life?
Not at all. Barely an impact. No, I'm kidding.
Are you
thanks to the Pixar theory, I'm on the Bacon and Eggs podcast. I'll start with that.
Yeah. Thanks that.
Finally can cross that off the list.
Just really checking all those life goal boxes right here.
No.
I hope that was 2 hours well spent.
It wasn't for the Pixar theory, I wouldn't be in California. Because the way I got my job was my boss's wife read one of my Pixar things, the one about Andy's mom. And she showed it to him, and he was like, man, this guy can write. And they hired me. And it was like, all right, on to San Francisco I go.
If only I could write, I would feel compelled to follow in your footsteps.
Alas, you have to listen to Audible books instead.
I can write. Am I allowed to declare that? Is that just something you can do?
Yeah.
Or does somebody else have to tell you first?
No. Oh. Why would it's not permission.
I don't know. I mean, it's just I've always had trouble giving myself accolades.
What do you write?
I'm hoping to have a book done by the end of the year, of a fiction novel.
Okay.
What
kind of fiction?
It depends on which one I decide to finish this year.
Erotica?
Yes, definitely erotica.
Well, good luck. It's a really rewarding experience.
It's been a lifelong goal of mine, and I'm getting closer every day.
Yeah. Well, you've got.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Just so we're all on the same page, I can read.
Same page, pun intended.
That felt like such a Guardians of the Galaxy joke right there at the end.
Yeah. Late reaction Drax or something.
Exactly.
Right.
Mantis, look out!
I just want to make sure that everybody knows that. Like,
And you know what? I can draw too.
I can write as well. I actually I have quite the knack for writing cover letters and resumes. Believe it or not,
I actually do believe that.
which is
I don't.
a very marketable skill.
Anyway,
Tyler, you know what we call you behind your back?
What do they say about me behind my
You're
back?
the indie comedy of Super Carlin Brothers.
Do you know that this is okay? I don't. As long as we're talking about bragging and giving ourselves accolades, I am a funnier person than my siblings. I just am.
I mean, I would tell it to them. I would tell it to their face. I would. I'd be like, look, Tyler's my fave. Always has been.
See, a lot of people say that to me because those are the people that find me and reach out to me. Like,
that's why you're the indie comedy. You're the one that's like, I'm a fan of Tyler Carlin. You've probably never heard of him.
Right. But people, you don't have to say that anymore. You can just tell people about me. I'm not trying to be a best
about
kept
once
secret.
a quarter, somebody asks me how I'm related to the Carlin brothers. About once a quarter.
You are the fraternity brother
I-
of the youngest.
Like, I have the very offshoot reaches of their
You're
fame that I'm catching
you're the cousin
every now and then.
You're the cousin Oliver.
Right.
To
Right. Well, the thing is like,
Bradys.
in order for somebody to get to me, and I'm sure Ethan feels this tenfold, but in order for somebody to like follow me or direct message me on Instagram or whatever it is, they've already got to be like an ultra invested fan. And it's becoming less and less since we do this, and also because Jonathan does the vlog that incorporates me a lot more often. But like before, in order for them to find out that there was like a third brother, they had to be invested. You
Well,
know?
I didn't even know you existed until 2016 when I was talking to John and he mentioned that I was talking to John and Ben and they're like, we have a brother. And I was like, that's when I knew. I was like, he's probably way funner than you two. And you're trying to keep it a secret.
I mean, I write their jokes, I find their articles. They don't pay me, though.
No.
Well, I guess they do. They are a Patreon supporter, which, by the way, you can be too, dear listener. Patreon.com/bacon and eggs.
But yeah, no, and I have been asked exactly 5 times if I'm the guy from that one video. I am the
You
guy
are
from
the guy
that one
from that
video.
one video.
In year 1.
Marching Band 2008.
No, I played a character called The From in a year 1 SCB video.
He was dressed as a Dalek in that he had a whisk and a plunger.
It is my
in
only
hand.
acting credit to date. I was in a bad Star Wars fan film.
You were also you also have a music video. Ethan.
That's not an acting credit. That's a performance credit.
I'd call that an acting credit.
Is it the Bacon and Eggs music video?
No, I'm
or-
in a band.
No,
Oh.
Yeah, I have a.
they're gonna make it.
I have a band.
They're gonna
that-
make it, John.
That plays occasionally. I have a show tomorrow. But we did release
Well,
a music video.
I'll be
and
sure
that's
to
in it.
I'll be sure to download your album on my Zune.
Please do. If you still have a Zune, I'd be impressed.
I never had a Zune. I had a Soul instead.
I had an iPod. What? My parents loved me.
Oh my God.
You had an iPod 3 years after I did. I don't want to hear it, Mr. Dell Pocket DJ.
I did have a Dell Pocket DJ.
You had a Dell Pocket
The
DJ
thing
until
was
after you could drive, you son of a.
Here's the truth about my Dell Pocket DJ is that it had 5 gigs of storage in an era where an iPod had less than a gig of storage. That was incredible. That's amazing. That's so many gigs.
You plugged your Dell Pocket DJ into the cassette player of your dad's Audi.
I did.
I don't want to
Yeah,
hear it.
You guys get a little Thor and Loki when it comes to music.
Yeah.
Ethan grew up around people who owned like every record, and my parents just didn't listen to music, so it's very frustrating listening to the radio near Ethan where he just casually knows all the songs. And I'm like, oh, that Led Zeppelin guy sounds pretty good.
I did know Brandy by Looking Glass was by Looking Glass before this movie.
I called Ethan on a whim one day and was just like, Ethan, if her name is Brandy, why is she serving whiskey and wine? And Ethan was like, oh, you talking about Brandy by Looking Glass?
He's basically
I was like,
Shazam.
right. I was like, what?
I
How
think
did
this
you
is a
do
much
that?
more hurtful moment in Tyler's life than I understood
then he's like-
at first.
And then he's like, would you like to add that to your Spotify and or Apple Music?
Right.
Spotify, I guess.
How did you do that?
Yeah, I'm a Spotify guy.
Look up lyrics.
Right. What do they do now? Look closer or something?
The
Is that how you
the
get
incorporation with
lyrics on Spotify?
Genius or whatever. Anyway, we've derailed this. John, we're gonna let you go.
Thank goodness.
Yep.
Finally.
Yeah, you're
Send
good.
help.
You're off the hook. Yeah, just give us a little sign off.
yeah,
Where
John.
can we find your stuff?
My stuff? I'll give you my address. Actually, no, let's just stick to my podcast. Cinemaholics podcast. Cinemaholics is on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, everywhere you podcasts are sold. We review movies every week. We just did a Sundance Festival 2018 breakdown with Alex Billington from First Showing. It was amazing. He talked about all these films coming out later this year that you're gonna love. But yeah, we pick movies that we think you're gonna. It's like a book club, but for movie buffs / Cinemaholics. Check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll link to their episode reviewing this very movie if you want to listen to it, and you can find it from there.
Yeah, Black Panther coming soon.
Black Panther next week for you listeners.
So wait, you're going to see it on Tuesday the 12th?
13th. Yeah.
Tuesday the 13th. I can count to Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh, and you can find all my stuff, podcasts, the Killer Joy book, the Pixar theory. It's all on jonnegroni.com.
There you go. Got a website.
Yeah, that's a pretty, yeah, those are useful.
Alexa, stop. Sorry, I have this ongoing fight with the Alexa in my bedroom. She likes to chime in, and by that I mean she just likes to go bloop at the least opportune times.
Well, John, do you have anything else you'd like to share with the group?
Just that I really love Thor Ragnarok. I really love talking about it. And if you listen to this whole thing and you've never seen Thor Ragnarok, you're incredible.
Man.
You're something else.
Yeah,
we definitely had people do
You've
that.
heard it all.
We definitely had people do that because we got a lot of views on our episode about Thor: The Dark World, which I know very few people saw.
Statistically speaking, you're right. Yeah. There's no way that checks out.
Yeah. So there are definitely people listening to this that just haven't seen the movies, which, like, thank you, but go watch the movies.
Yeah, this isn't exactly like a really great history channel, but for Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, no offense, guys.
No, we're not trying to be.
We just like to...
Right.
Yeah.
Trying to be Discovery Channel.
Right, seriously. This isn't American Pickers. Like, this is definitely Naked and Afraid. Like...
Well, we really appreciate you coming on. It's been an absolute blast.
Yeah, we'll blast you on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and shout you out every which way we can.
Back at you.
I know that you have more followers than I do, but
Who's counting besides us?
besides
He counts
me every week on a spreadsheet.
More than anybody I know.
Well, no problem,
We've got
guys.
spreadsheets here at Bacon and Eggs.
Thanks for giving me the chance
Hey, it was
to have breakfast with the champions.
it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, we'll see you at a Waffle House in Oklahoma one day.
Okay.
That was weird.
Was Ethan supposed to Shazam that? Like,
I don't know if they have Waffle House in Oklahoma.
they probably do. It's Waffle House. All right, so I can go.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
See you, buddy.
So that was our interview with Jon Negroni about Thor Ragnarok.
I don't know if I'd call that an interview, but it was a lot of fun to pick his brain, and it's always fun to work with somebody in your field who is just bounds more experienced.
I learned
than
a
you
lot
are.
tonight.
I did. It just, I guess seniority, like film reviews are what you make them, but it's very cool to work with somebody who's done it for a while, and you can kind of appreciate what makes someone good versus shouting at the void. And that was a good experience.
That was a great experience. I learned what a retcon was.
Yeah, he uses very, very profound language. Retcon not being one of those examples, but if you ever listen to Cinemaholics, you'd just be blown away. Ethan and I speak in very third grade level talk. I think they drop in an SAT word at least every 10 minutes.
Yeah,
in the show,
absolutely.
which is
I mean, I could do that. I
something
can
to
just,
talk
you know,
about.
we could do that. We have the capability.
yeah. I mean, this show could definitely use a lot more photosynthesis.
I photosynthesize with that. Just so you guys are aware, Tyler can read.
But yeah, so thank you guys so much for listening. As always, we're Tyler Carlin and Ethan Edgehill. We review movies and we do this thing where we talk to each other and we have this community. Thank you for being a part of it. If you'd like to be a more involved part of it, you can go to patreon.com/baconandeggs and make any sort of donation you'd like. Thank you to our new donors, Super Carlin Brothers and Ryan King. We're super grateful for your donation. Additionally, you can find us on Twitter as a podcast at Bacon and Eggs 23. You can join our secret Facebook group that's for fans of the show. We have discussions about this, that, and the other. There's some dank memes here and there. You can also follow us on Twitter personally and Instagram. I'm at America RLIN. That's Americarlin on both Twitter and Instagram. Ethan is at Wow Now, but the O's are zeros, and that's not spelt out. It's literally W0WN0.
I wonder if anybody's searched Wow Now, but the O's are zeros.
I don't know, but Hugh one time tweeted it, or Michael Owens tweeted it, and it made me die laughing.
Yeah. Did it?
Yeah. next week we're talking Black
Yeah.
Panther. I'm excited.
Yeah. In
11
something like that.
days. We'll see it.
Time's a weird thing.
You know, it's one of those things that, like, in 4th grade when I was doing math problems, I was like, how could this ever be confusing to anybody? And now my slow grown-up brain is
How
like,
does time work?
I don't understand.
For
Daylight
sure.
savings time zones.
Anyway.
Why does jet lag happen? Why wouldn't you just sleep from 11 to 6 instead of from 11
Anyway,
to
it is currently February 5th, and it is about to be February 6th here in a few minutes. And it's time for us to say goodbye.
Yeah. Do you have any, I don't know, Italian to end us on?
I'm at WoW now, but the O's are zeros. And until next week, arrivederci.
Absolutely. Open parentheses, story of a girl, close parentheses.
This is the story of a girl who cried a river down the whole world. But she looks so sad in photographs. Absolutely love her when she's smart.
Hold on, just so we're all on the same page.
I can't read.